Hello, everyone, and welcome to the BI Livecast series. My name is Carrie Keenan, and I'm one of the program directors here at Brand Innovators. Welcome to the Future of Travel Live Summit Livecast today, and today is going to be really special. I'm thrilled to kick off our event today. We've got a phenomenal agenda with an awesome lineup of marketers for you. Before we do get started, we want to thank all the marketers, the sponsors, and of course you, the audience, for making this event even possible. Throughout the day today, you'll be able to use the Q&A widget and a chat widget down at the bottom of your screen. And we do encourage you to engage with our speakers and the other attendees by using those widgets throughout the program. Without further ado, please join me in welcoming Nick Gillum, the Director of Social Media Marketing for Mohegan Gaming and Entertainment, and his moderator, Kimberly Wiley, the Director of Brand Partnerships at Captivate. Hi, everyone.
Hello. Thanks for having us.
Of course, excited to talk travel today, especially on a very rainy Wisconsin day. I can't wait to hear about other things. But
it's gorgeous here in Connecticut, so I'm sorry to hear about your weather troubles.
I'm always happy to hear about gorgeous weather. I will let you take it away.
Great. Good morning, everyone. Well, thank you all for joining today. I know that everyone's super excited to start talking about the future of travel. My name is Kim Wiley. I am the Partnerships Director at Captivate. We are the leading end-to-end influencer marketing solution. And I'm joined today by Nick Gillum, the Director of Social Media and Marketing at Mohegan. Nick, thanks for joining today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This is a topic I'm very passionate about, as the Director of Social Media for all of our properties. Across the US and Canada, we're constantly thinking about what is the future in technology and how do we apply it, how are trends changing, et cetera.
Well, Nick, as we get started, before we start looking into the future, would love to kind of touch back on the past, specifically the past 2 years. Would love to hear from you how Mohegan as a whole tackled the pandemic and what you guys took away from it and learned from it, given the fact of your history and your view of customer experiences. Would love to see how and learn from what you guys took away from the pandemic.
Yeah, so it was definitely an interesting time, as it was for everyone. We here at Mohegan Sun have been open since 1996. We're on tribal land here in Connecticut, and this was our very first property, and it's still our flagship today. And it was never designed to be shut down. We're over 25 4x7 business. We have hotels, we have round the clock casinos, we have lots of other entertainment. So the thought of shutting down was unthinkable at the time. But as virtually every business had to, we did have to make that difficult decision along with our other properties around North America. I think we were incredibly lucky in that, at least here in Connecticut, we were able to reopen very quickly after about 2.5 months, with new safety procedures in place. And, so we ended up being a place that people could come to, even though, during some, pretty challenging times. We were a place because we're so spread out, because we have millions of square feet of space to spread out. It's a great place for people to come. But we learned a lot, both about the changing consumer perceptions and behaviors, and kind of having to adjust to a new normal, and then now luckily being able to get back to normal.
That's great. So we obviously touched on the fact that you guys are 24/7 business that creates a amazing customer experience and guest experience throughout your entire property and properties as a whole. What have you guys taken away and learned and adjusted in terms of your marketing strategy, in terms of like actually connecting with your guests and creating that experience? One, when they were away from the brand, and now that they're back as a guest on your properties.
Yeah, it was an interesting time while we were closed, and while people were very hesitant to visit, because we needed to keep them engaged on our social media channels, but we also didn't want to throw things in front of them that either we couldn't offer them or they weren't ready to experience, whether it's nightclubs or or restaurants. And so we had to chart a new path. We started posting a lot of inspirational content. We have a lot of beautiful scenes around the property. So here's a relaxing video of our waterfall, or what are you excited to do once you can come back? And and also we have our Back of House series, which is a major initiative for us. We've done 5 seasons of it. It's on YouTube. And, it's a way that we show what's going on behind the scenes of, this amazing property that we have. But, that offered us an opportunity because we've created some stars of our employees in that series. And we were able to go back to them and say, hey, show us what it's like, now that you're, not able to work, what's your life like now? And so our pastry chef was out scuba diving, and, so he took us along for the ride. And that was a really fun way to generate some content and keep people engaged throughout a period when they couldn't visit.
In terms of really leaning into the social platforms and the concept of all influencers, like I love to hear how you guys look to tailor your content to connect to your customers, not only by using your employees, but also other forms of user-generated content, guest content. Can you talk a little bit more about how you use not only your employees for content creation to connect to the brand, but then also how you're using your guests and other influencers to do so as well?
Yeah, so we're really lucky in that we have a lot of, incredible guests who are very passionate about our property. And we also have a very Instagrammable spot. I know at one time our Chihuly sculpture that's in the middle of our property was one of the most Instagram spots in Connecticut. So, so it's a place where people naturally come to share social content. So one of the things that we do is really work to amplify the things that are already happening on property, whether that's, a celebrity who's coming and, creating great content, we're working with them ahead of time to share that out, or, a local food blogger who's just having a great experience and we amplify that. We also bring in lots of other influencers. We might have someone who reaches out and just wants to come for a stay and maybe a great meal. And so we'll work with them to figure out what that content can look like, all the way up to, some of the bigger influencers, mostly up here for us, it's very regional. Our guests really come from between, New York and Boston. And, that's really our core guests. And then, beyond that, maybe a bit more of the East Coast and New England, but we're lucky in that we have so many great influencers, both here in Connecticut, as well as in New York and Boston. So we can pull from both of those markets, whether it's great, travel, travel influencers, fashion influencers, food influencers, whoever it is, it's not a hard sell to get them to come to our property. And, I think it's just a matter of, we aren't, but the one challenge that we have is that, we aren't, while we're close to those, it is a bit of a commitment to come to our property. We're in Uncasville, Connecticut. And so it's a bit of a drive from either one, hour and a half, 2 hours, 3 with traffic maybe. So, just working with them ahead of time and, figuring out the right times for them to come. Our Sun Wine and Food Fest is one of our biggest events of the year. We bring national chefs from all over the country. And that's also our biggest event when it comes to influencers, because, they want to meet those, have meals from the likes of Rocco DiSpirito or Todd English and get to meet them. And so we bring in these great influencers, pair them with these great celebrities, great food and wine, and it's magic what happens.
It's such a great use of content and connection to your customer. I love hearing how you guys look to connect with your customer where they are to create an opportunity to not only drive net new guests to the property, but then also re-engage your existing guests and remind them of the amazing customer experiences that you guys create at Mohegan Sun to bring them back and continue that story with them. It just is a testament, I think, to the innovation you guys bring to the table. So in terms of innovation as a brand as a whole, how do you guys look to consistently innovate and keep track of what your guests are looking for and what that guest experience needs to be as the guest kind of changes their needs and wants, especially post-pandemic?
Absolutely. I'm really proud that our history is being very forward as it relates to technology, and both in my direct line of work in social media, but also in other technologies around our properties. One simple example is we have the best slot machines in the industry. It's all brand new games. We're constantly refreshing there. So we know that people love the classics, but they also love the new games. We have kiosks for checking in, and so you don't have to wait in line to get your hotel key. We were one of the very first properties to put iPads in all of our rooms to control the TV and to see what's going on property. Specifically in social, I'm always looking for ways to bring the experience at our properties, Mohegan Sun, but also our other ones, A up in Washington State, resorts down in Atlantic City. We have in properties in Pennsylvania and Las Vegas. Like, how do we for someone who hasn't visited in a while, how can we bring that experience to them? And I'm super passionate about, 360 video and drones and other things that can really bring someone and kind of immerse them in the experience and make them feel, really want to come. It's part of my job, I always say, is to create FOMO and to really make sure that, people, they get that, have that desire to want to come and experience the property firsthand and let them know what's here. Because, outside of our core markets, I think we're one of the best kept secrets in the country. We're one of the largest resorts, and if you don't come from the Northeast, you probably never heard of us.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that if for anyone who doesn't follow along with all of your social handles, I definitely recommend it. Having spent my career following along brands in the social space and now in the influencer space, I can say that your content definitely gives me FOMO and makes me want to come visit from the West Coast. So we talked about how you guys use social and how you guys look at innovation to bring your guest experience to life, domestically specifically. But I also know that Mohegan is looking at international growth opportunities as well. Can you touch on how you guys are looking to balance not only your domestic customer and this new customer mindset and guest mindset, and how you're looking to kind of bring that into the global space for some global growth and dimension there?
Yeah, so we've had incredible growth over the last number of years. I mean, like I said, we started back in 1996 with Mohegan Sun here in Connecticut, but in short order, in the recent past, we've we really focused on I would say responsible growth. Most recently, we opened a casino in Vegas. We have properties now in the Niagara Falls area, Falls View, which is a massive property as well. So learning what that Canadian customer or visitors to Canada want. But we're really excited about the future opening of Inspire, which is in South Korea. And this is a property that's, I don't know, I have a hard time wrapping my head around it because it's really going to have virtually everything that we have here in Connecticut. And it's going to have it almost on day one. We're building a hotel, we're building an arena, we're building a splash pad or splash park. We're building in retail, convention, and it's all going to be open, 2023. So it's right around the corner. And to your point, it's a very different guest, and so that team is really focused on what do guests who are traveling from Japan, from China, from other parts of Southeast Asia and Oceania, what do they want when they're visiting South Korea. And also, what do the locals there? What are their interests? And they have different regulations, different laws there that make it where locals can't gamble. So we have to appeal to someone who's a local who's not interested in gambling. So it's going to be an incredible property, with some of the newest technology and everything that we learned at all of our other properties.
Do you guys look at your content strategy differently when trying to kind of anticipate the need of the traveler coming in and the local guest? And how do you guys look at kind of your audience targeting from that perspective?
Yeah, I mean, each of our properties is very different who visits and, what the mix is of locals versus, more, maybe regional guests versus national or international guests. And so, especially here in Connecticut, we really have to focus on that and then think about, how do we attract someone to the property with, our incredible amenities and showing them, they can, go to restaurants that they can maybe only find otherwise in like New York, Las Vegas, Los Angeles. And kind of bring them in, whether it's for something like a bachelor party or to see, once in a lifetime concert or whatever that is. And then we also have our guests who, live right down the street and are visiting, on a regular basis. And so the way that we appeal to them is very different. We're in the midst of our hot summer fun promotion, and that's a perfect example because every day of the week we have different casino promotions for them. On Fridays, every Friday in the summer, we're giving away free t-shirts. So, that's always a huge draw. And then every Friday night, we go out on our patio and bring in a great cover band. We bring in some food trucks. We have fire pits. and and everyone just gets to sit out there and enjoy the great weather and enjoy a great concert. And so a lot of times that's locals, but whereas some of the other when Harry Styles comes to town, we might have someone traveling from much further away to see that show.
I can imagine that Harry Styles draws a pretty diverse audience as a guest to the property. So accommodating for each of those has to be quite fun and entertaining, at least on the social media content side.
Yeah, I was just looking at some of our stats from the last year, and I looked at our top 10 tweets of the last year, and 9 of the 10 are about Harry Styles. So even when we were talking about our COVID restrictions and policies around Harry Styles, they still were engaging in just like, just the definition of fanatics.
Yeah. I mean, it just shows you the power of influencers, all types of influencers.
Absolutely.
we talked about earlier more of kind of the micro and nano influencers, but then you can also get into kind of the celebrity level and what that does in terms of creating a guest experience that extends not only from the actual experience itself, but it's something that people take with them and remember a Mohegan property for. So I think it's just such a great testament to your overall content strategy and how you're engaging your guests. So
it's actually a funny thing that you mentioned that, because one of my first experience, so growing up in the Midwest, I hadn't heard of 16 when Mohegan Sun opened. I'd never heard of the property, but one of my favorite musical artists ended up creating a special for Bravo. It was a Christmas special, and it was filmed live at the Mohegan Sun Arena. And I just remember thinking, oh my God, Mohegan Sun's like this magical place where these great concerts are happening, but never thought about anything more. And then years later, saw it pop up as a job opportunity. I'm like, oh my God, I gotta jump at this, because of that concert I saw, literally, the DVD that I own 10 years ago or more.
It's funny what we hold on to from all aspects of our lives as guests, as consumers, and kind of what those connections to brands are, and what we hold on over time to keep that connection. But like I said, you guys have done such an amazing job creating such robust content that connects to your guests where they are, and the mindset they are to drive them again as net new guests and or as existing guests and return guests. And so when we think about the content, we think about your audience. When we put those together, how are you guys looking at driving insights about kind of that guest experience that you guys want to make the innovation or adjustments to? And then how are you guys measuring success on the back end to ensure that you're meeting that guest experience?
Absolutely. It's something we're always thinking about. Our guest experience team is sending out, surveys via Medallia and understanding our NPS and asking very detailed questions about like what interactions they're having on the property. Did they go to our Starbucks location? Did they have an interaction with our security staff or our box office staff? So really, we have a great understanding week to week of how, what our guests is experiencing. But social also plays a role. And on my team, we have community management and customer service for social media. So we are, monitoring those through our platform. I have someone in, we're staffed 6 days a week to be looking at those, incoming comments, whether it's comments on a Facebook post, whether it is, just people, speaking in general on Twitter, via listening, we're listening for those comments, trying to establish those themes. We have tags in our software. So we're actually tagging, if someone is talking about, has a question about our pool or cabanas, or has a question about a concert, we're tagging all that content so we could see those trends over time and also looking at that sentiment over time as well. And then we have a direct, being here on the property or being closely connected to our other properties, we're, as soon as we see a trend start to emerge, we're immediately reaching out and trying to get clarification, trying to provide that feedback to, the folks on the ground who can make a difference and change that experience, or put that guest in touch with someone who can rectify the situation. Here in Connecticut, we have what's called a Make It Right certificate, and anyone on the floor can pull one of these out at any time if they see a guest having a bad experience or being inconvenienced, and can write it out for a small value so that they can, have, get a little bit of compensation for a bad experience and just to make it right. So I think, we do have an incredible reputation. We see it over and over again for having some of the best staff in the industry. Everyone has an amazing, experience when they come here, and they tell us over and over again. We see it in all of the feedback data. So, and it really, has been replicated at all of our other properties. We see this, at A. I'm always blown away when I go up to Washington and I visit one of the restaurants because, it's always some of the best experience I've ever had. So, we have what's called the Spirit of a Quay, which is all about our welcoming, it's our core purpose, and it's how we welcome our guests, and it really goes back to the origins of the Mohegan people and how they were welcoming and have always been so. And so it's really in our DNA to provide that incredible guest experience, and we believe it translates well to the success we've had.
Do you guys take that value proposition and that connection to that welcoming mentality and your core kind of mission and vision as a company, and how do you translate that into creating content that connects to people in a way that allows them to feel it through digital means, right? Whether or traditional, right? So for you, from a social perspective, like how are you guys actually taking that and creating that type of content?
Yeah, so I think, a great example of this, if you go to our YouTube channel or just Google All In for Mohegan, this is our brand new campaign, and really shows, about the connections that people are able to have, maybe someone, they've known their lifetime when they go to Mohegan, people they might have met that night, and the interactions that they have with our team members here. So we really, we took it and we actually applied it to our advertising campaign that's right now. But we were always thinking about it and, and looking at all the content, and, we definitely want to, our experience is really kind of an accessible luxury. So, you can come to our properties, and, buy maybe a Gucci purse, or you can, have, a tomahawk steak at Michael Jordan's Steakhouse. But, we want that experience to be accessible. And so, that really is what we're trying to share, and that it's not this out of reach experience, no matter where you are in life, no matter, what your financial situation is, no matter kind of what, how you perceive yourself, you can come in, feel comfortable, and, and have this great experience. We're definitely not stuffy or, we're here to provide that great level of service to everyone.
It's always great to hear how brands kind of formulate that connection to their guest or their customer, and how they bring them in at the different parts of kind of their customer journey or purchase funnel or wherever you are in terms of your brand. So for you guys, when you look at how social plays a role currently, how are you guys looking to drive anywhere from awareness of Mohegan properties all the way down to that final guest experience and bringing them back as return guests? And what is that role of social in that purchase decision?
Yeah, I mean, we have a role in every level of the purchase funnel, and we take that role very seriously, whether it's from, driving awareness to people that might not have heard of our property, so trying to really go beyond, we don't have the big budgets that a lot of other massive properties or big brands have. And so we're not able to do national advertising, but social is a great way to really kind of start to expand the geographic area we can target, or reaching guests that, might not have heard of us otherwise. And so that's really the awareness, whether that's, showing them our new advertising campaign, or just showing, them, the great, our architecture is always resonates well, or, our, interior design, like it's just such a beautiful property, from our fountains to our waterfalls to our sculptures, that, that's the stuff that maybe kind of pulls people in to be interested, and kind of pulls people in at that awareness stage. But then we're really trying to drive also consideration, whether it's, every month my team helps produce a video about our shops, so we send a member of our team to various shops, and we film them, showing, here, one of the things that, I love about our property is the amount of coffee that's on our property. So, they might show it's funny because it's like I go to Vegas or some of the other properties, and, I have trouble finding coffee, but you never have problems finding coffee at Mohegan Sun. We have Starbucks, we have 2 Dunkin' Donuts, we have 3 Krispy Kremes, we have, we have coffee. So, but, that's something simple that we can do to drive consideration, is just show, here are the great food and beverage establishments that we have. And then we also are actually driving, strong business results. And the best example I have of this is on our entertainment side. We recently did a survey of those who were entering our arenas for some of our big concerts, and 90% of them had heard about our concerts through social media. So, we're still on TV, we're still on the radio, but, social media is where people are hearing about us. We have our, I spend a lot of time, it might be an older tactic, but like Facebook events, we make sure that we have a Facebook event for everything. And then we're actually driving advertising behind those because people will commit, people, especially we see, overwhelming number of women who use that as their social planner and are saying they're interested or tagging their friends and saying, let's do this. And it really drives that social aspect of social media around these concerts. And it works incredibly well for us.
Again, I think that's just such a great way to think about it, right? You understand who your customer is, you understand where they are, how they engage not only with themselves, but with their friends that they're bringing in as a guest to increase their experience with you guys. So, we may think of Facebook events as maybe an old tactic, but I think it's just a testament to you understanding and Mohegan and Son understanding their core guests and meeting them where they are to ensure that you're creating that experience that lives outside of the property and really allows them to kind of come back in. So I think it's a great way to think about your overall social media tactics. You mentioned that you guys are seeing great success through social. So my last question before we open it up to Q&A will be, what are the metrics that you guys, that as a whole, your team looks at from awareness, from consideration, and from that conversion opportunity? And how are you guys keeping track of those? I know in the world of massive amounts of data, everyone's always looking for tips and tricks on how to navigate the measurement portion of the digital marketing space.
Yeah, so we have, I think, like many large companies, we have a lot of data at our disposal, and I think really understanding it, distilling it down to to the things that are really important and actionable is so important. So I've seen all of the all the fancy metrics that all the platforms can provide and all the different calculations they can do, but a lot of times I come back to sheer number of impressions, reach. Looking at, how are we doing, in our video plays, how are we doing on our channels? So we use Shareably/ComScore for a lot of our competitive intelligence. So you were just looking at, how are we doing, not to say that we're super focused on our competitors. And actually we're a lot of times looking at kind of more best in class. So we're trying to figure out where do we sit as it relates to the biggest resorts in the world that have the best marketing team. So a lot of Vegas properties, a lot of overseas properties, so we're always looking at, just simple things like engagements, what is their best performing content? How does their content, that's really working well for them differ from what's really working well for us? And is there an opportunity? And, the biggest one for me is just the emergence of reels and how many video views and engagements it's really driving. I think, we all have known for a while that video, short video, vertical video was the future, but I think it was interesting to me how quickly our industry has embraced it and is seeing a lot of success. So, everybody was asking about, what about TikTok? What about TikTok? But I think it's beyond that. I think, honestly, for us, it's more about reels because we already have the audience there, and it's, and it's learning to build that vertical content, that storytelling content that's beyond just the standard pretty pictures that kind of allowed us to get by in the past.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Nick, thank you so much for walking us through the amazing success that Mohegan Properties has had across the board. Have enjoyed talking to you about how you guys look at content, how you look at your connecting to your target audience, and how you guys are measuring and looking at success for your guests across your properties. So thanks for the time. Are you ready to open it up to some Q&A?
Yeah, and thank you so much for your time. This is I appreciate your thoughtful questions and your expertise in this field. So it's always great to have a great conversation here. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Well, Nick, you fully spoiled my question. The first thing I was gonna say was come on and go, what about TikTok? Because that is absolutely.
I mean, I can definitely talk about it a little more.
It's the shiny object for sure.
Oh, it is. It is. And, one of the challenges that we have is we're based here in Connecticut. So that, that makes it, we're right, at our Mohegan Sun property, so we can walk on and we can film stuff. But, we also have properties in Washington State, Nevada, and so we're very reliant on our marketing teams there, our boots on the ground to send us content. And so, a lot of the work that we have to do, is really coaching them. And, everybody, we have some properties that really want to be on TikTok and, but I'm like, so I asked them a lot of questions like, are you really committed to this? Like, I can't be in Washington every week to get new content. So like, we need you to work with us. And luckily we have great partners and we've figured out some great content that's worked. A has done an incredible job. They have these hot seat promotions where we'll randomly select a guest, we'll come up to them while they're playing at a slot machine, we'll surprise them and we'll give them $1,000. But instead of just saying, oh, we'll credit it to you, they bring $100 cash and they count it out. And people love to see these videos and they're on the loudspeaker and they're doing 100, 200, 300. And these videos just blow up, just to see people's reactions, and people watch them over and over and over again. So, so I'm telling all of my properties, like, can we find a way to do this? Or, and the other challenge that we run into with TikTok is that, brands can't always use the trending sounds. If you're a responsible brand and, you want to avoid the lawyers knocking on your door, we have to avoid, the copyrighted material. And so like, how can we be inspired by the trends or find the trends that we can follow, but, stay out of hot water and and
that's what every brand has to worry about on all social at all times. How am I not getting in trouble?
Yes.
For sure. I think that from the influencer space or the creator economy as a whole, looking at how TikTok has entered the space and really given creators an opportunity to extend their reach and create new forms of content that connect in a really authentic way is where we're seeing a ton of success for brands across all verticals, but specifically in travel, right? Travel and hospitality is a space where creators naturally feel passionate about the experience that they're having and wanting to share that and extend that to their audiences. And their audiences trust them. It's the right influencers are just an extension of what word of mouth marketing has been all along. But now with higher end, higher produced content that allows brands to showcase all of their best features and value props for their guests and their customers in a way that is more engaging. And so content creators have an opportunity to kind of extend that across all platforms. And it's best when they're working on the platform that's most native to them. So you get to see a lot of success there, and TikTok is no exclusion.
Absolutely. We love TikTok influencers, and, and they can say things that we necessarily, might not necessarily be able to, not to say that, they can go completely rogue, but, they can speak in a way that's authentic to their audience and just isn't authentic for us. I discovered this influencer, Jackson Olsen. I found out he had some incredible TikToks. He was doing Instacart deliveries during the pandemic. And I realized because he was shopping at a local store that, that's only up here, that he had to be local. So we brought him to the property and he did like a 10,000 calorie challenge where he ate like all this food across the property and, did things that I would never dream or ever ask my team to do, but he was able to do it and just see incredible success. I mean, millions of views on some of his videos. We have this flaming mac and cheese at our Italian restaurant, and the flames are like this high. And, just him like just staring into the flames is one of his most viral pieces of content. So again, yeah. And this is one of the ways that we love using, TikTok and Instagram is, getting that additional reach, getting that additional audience, but also, content that doesn't make sense for us to make, but does make sense for them.
Right.
Just to get into I love the internal minutia of stuff. For your other properties, do you have, when they're making content, do you have a strict, like, this is our process, this is what we do, these are our rules, this is my vibe, or does everybody kind of go willy-nilly on their own, or does everything run through Nick?
No. And I don't want it to. Our culture, like everything else that I've talked about, is very collaborative, very welcoming. And so I'm never going to be the kind of person that says that, it's my way or the highway. We're not a strong corporate overlord, but my team does have a lot of experience and, does have, I think what I try to do is just show the success we're having, and my team does, create the great majority of the content, and then we, obviously are very reliant on our properties to provide us with, what's going on, whether it's just information about something that's coming up or photos or, like there's just a lot of things I just don't have access to. So it's a very symbiotic relationship for sure. And even doing things like going live on Instagram or going live on, on Facebook, we rely on them to do that. So we're creating the majority of the content, but it's definitely not, each one of our properties is a little different. In the case of Connecticut, I would say we act a little bit more like a brand team, whereas another property would maybe act a little bit more like an agency. And each one of them, we kind of feel out and figure out what's the best approach, depending on, the team that's there, what their workload is, what they have access to, what skill sets, et cetera.
Awesome. All right, I'll stop asking all my questions now. Sorry.
No, I love the questions.
Great.
Well, then I'm going to go to the $1 million question. Who was the concert that you saw that made you decide Mohegan Sun was where you needed to be?
So
because you never said who it was.
I didn't. And her name is Linda Etter. She's actually from, so I don't know if you were.
Linda Etter.
Do you? So her Christmas Stays the Same concert. I have it on DVD, and it was shot at Mohegan Sun, and it aired on Bravo. And so she sings a lot of traditional Christmas songs. She does a lot of like standards, and so I got to see her in concert here in Connecticut recently.
That's awesome.
But yeah, it was just like, one of many. But again, it was this experience that really stuck with me. The fact that, she came to Mohegan Sun to do her Christmas concert, and it was one of the few places in the country that you could see her Christmas concert. So yeah, but I mean,
I had to know.
Yeah, no, that's great that we have a connection. And we had Frankie Valli was actually recently here, and he
that's fun.
His PBS special is going to air soon, and he filmed that here. We actually had 5 Seconds of Summer here, and they just released a video that portions of it were filmed here. So we have a lot of, and then we also were I always say we were a star in the film Uncut Gems, because there's a huge plot line in that film about coming to Mohegan Sun. So
there you go.
so we're trying to get out there for sure.
You have every interest level covered.
Right. We were going after,
I was gonna say, speaks right to your guests. Like, you just cover the full gamut of all the guests coming in, and making sure that they're having an experience that's memorable for them, the same way that watching the Bravo special was memorable for you.
Exactly. I mean, we have basketball fans. Like, we have a huge presence in the basketball world. We have a WNBA team, that the Tri-Bones, the Connecticut Sun. But then every year we work with the Basketball Hall of Fame, which is located just to our north here in Massachusetts. And and we have the biggest names in basketball. Everyone coming, and so every weekend's a little bit of a different vibe. But the Harry Styles vibe is very different from a Basketball Hall of Fame weekend. So
it must keep content creation very interesting. That's for
sure. No, it every day is so different. I mean, I think that's the thing that keeps me passionate about it is other brands I've worked on. I've had the pleasure of working on some incredible brands, whether it be CPG brands or I worked in the power tools industry. I worked in eyewear, and sometimes you're just struggling for content. There's never a day when I'm struggling for content ever.
Now, after you're done, go back, cut this, cut your section of this, put it out on the channels. It's more content for you, and you're set.
Exactly. We have 45 restaurants. We have 2 hotels. We need content. We literally just walk outside and snap a photo of our building, with cool clouds or whatever, and it's and it blows up. So I realize what a lucky position I'm in, because I realize a lot of marketers don't have the luxury, but hopefully some of the insights that we have here today that we shared that are applicable elsewhere.
Perfect. Thank you both so much. I really enjoyed having you on. I'm sure our audience did too. Thank you for your time, and we'll connect offline about some of those concerts, because that sounds like something I need to go do.
Yes,
I need to travel, so I'm gonna call you.
Yes, for sure.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great one.
What a great session. And now let's have another great session. We're going to bring up our next speaker, Stephanie Atise, the Vice President of Marketing and Brand Marketing for IHG, and her moderator, Terry Lavin, the RVP of Client Partnerships at GSTV.
Hello, hello.
Hello, everyone. I'll let you two take it away from here.
Thanks, Carrie. And the last few minutes of listening to Nick and Kim was pretty fascinating. So they set the bar rather high. Stephanie, welcome.
Hi, how's everyone doing?
Fantastic.
Good,
I was thinking the very first Kimpton hotel I stayed at was in Atlanta.
Oh, lovely.
Somebody was from Atlanta.
I am coming to you from Atlanta.
And I remember being rather surprised that Crown Royal, Holiday Inn, they were all part of the same group. So I would love for you just to kind of start off by telling us a little bit about IHG hotels and resorts, and then really what your role is there.
Absolutely. So I work for IHG Hotels and Resorts. I lead the Holiday Inn Express brand globally. And in that role, I run brand marketing, design, and performance for the brand. And IHG Hotels and Resorts is a portfolio of 17 brands. We have over 6,000 hotels in 100 countries. We have hotels that are uber luxurious, like Six Senses and Regent. And we also have mainstream brands like Holiday Inn Express and Owl Suites. But we're truly a global business. And something else you should know about us is that we're a franchise business, which means we're asset light. We don't actually own the hotels that we own the brands around. So our customers are not just our guests, but they're also our owners and the folks that run these hotels day in and day out. So for example, for Holiday Inn Express, where we have 3,000 hotels, we have upwards of 2,000 owners, everyone from an institutional owner to somebody who's running a family business. And so it's really exciting business because we get to focus on how do we best make a stay great for our guests and how do we make sure our brands make sense for our owners.
Wow, I think it's interesting because part of learning more about IHG from my personal stays, from talking to you previously, I started thinking, I said, well, look, like many business travelers and luxury and just leisure travelers, I'm involved with every reward point. I mean, you name it, I'm signed up, and it's really just a checklist for me. And I know that creates clutter for you. Now, IHG recently launched its new One Rewards program, so I'd love to know a little bit about the biggest changes that you made to your program. And how does it position IHG for the future of loyalty and travel?
Absolutely, Terry. So IHG has always been at the forefront of loyalty. We were actually the first brand to create a rewards program within the hotel space. And our new loyalty program, IHG One Rewards, focused on our guests, our owners, and our hotel teams. And we created this program based upon feedback from each stakeholder to make sure that the program was robust enough to service each stakeholder in a way that made their guest experience really great, our owners really happy in terms of cost of managing it, and then for our hotel team, something really excited for them to sell to our guests. There are 3 things that we did to improve upon the program. We thought about the overarching offering. So guests are really asking for more flexibility around their rewards. They're asking for more tiers and then faster ability to reach milestones. And so what we did is we updated our reward milestones. We thought about the perks that really matter to guests, which are free breakfast, room upgrades. Who doesn't love a room upgrade? I know I do. And then also F&B credits, so that when people are going to stay at a hotel, they don't necessarily just want what they can get for breakfast, but maybe they want something from the marketplace, or if you're in a spa environment, maybe you want something while you're at the spa, but there are these additional F&B credits depending on your hotel tier. We also really focused on service. So one thing that we know is if you evaluate the concept around service profit chain, which basically says that if you invest in your people at the hotel level, they will love your brand, and then they will offer great service to your guests, and that's what creates loyalty. So it's this continuous chain. So we have a lot of programming across our 17 brands on ways to deliver excellent service across our estate. And then lastly, the third thing that we did is invest in digital. And digital experiences in a hotel environment can be really complex. So on one hand, we want to make sure it's efficient, that you're getting access to pick your room, that you're getting access to check in at the right time. But we also want to make sure that you're getting the right sort of service that you expect in a people serving people business. But we've invested a lot in digital platforms to make the whole experience more efficient. We recently actually just launched our ISU Rewards app, and this new app is faster. It shows better views of the hotels that which people are buying, and it also is engaged with a lot of our social media. So one thing to really note is Holiday Express is the first brand on TikTok. We're very much focused on engaging with our customers across all channels. And as part of ISG One Rewards, we're hoping that we can target customers whether or not you've been with us as a business traveler for many years or you're part of the next gen.
I definitely want to talk more about Holiday Inn Express, but this sounds like you put a lot of thought into this. Was this kind of a regrouping during the lull of COVID in the early months?
Well, yes. I mean, we have been working on revamping our loyalty program for many years. And like I said, we were at the forefront of even creating a loyalty program. And I would say, I wouldn't necessarily say it was part of a lull, because I don't think there's ever a lull in our industry. Even when our hotels were closed, we were very much focused on getting them back open, thinking about the right amenities that would matter most to our guests, and making sure our hotel guests felt safe and clean. Are safe. And so what the goal here is really to think about, how do we deliver a loyalty program that's going to be meaningful to guests across different types of stays, like I mentioned, from luxury all the way down to mainstream. They have the right sort of benefits that it's meaningful to them, and that they decide that their experience is positive when they leave.
So I guess when you talk about the experience, how did you accumulate this information? Did you use polling, and did you question your customers? I mean, obviously they're very loyal. They had to have been pretty vocal on what they want in a loyalty program and for IHG in general.
Absolutely. We have a robust customer insights team that is polling customers. We have a post-stay survey we do with customers each and every day. We do deep customer insights by actually meeting with customers. So we'll do ethnographic research, and we'll go into their homes to better understand what their experiences are like even before they travel, what are the things they look for when they travel, and then what makes them actually decide to book again with a hotel. We look at competitors to see what they're doing with their customers. And then we also are very deep in understanding, how do we best service our customers for the long term? Because we want to make sure, whether or not you stay with us one time or you stay with us 5 to 10 times a year, we want to make sure that we are the brand of choice. So we really try to hone in on, what are the reasons why you choose IHG hotels, rather than just what are the reasons why you just choose to travel.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Now, Holiday Inn, biggest, most beloved, well-known brands in the world, and you're focused on Holiday Inn Express. Can you tell me a little bit about your current marketing campaign and what insights actually led to the development of that?
Absolutely. So yes, Holiday Inn Express is the largest hotel brand in the world. We have over 3,000 hotels, and we're 40% of IHG Hotels and Resorts revenue. And I'm super excited to lead this brand. We recently invested in a new marketing campaign focused on breakfast. And I think there are two insights that I think it's really important that we discuss. One is, when you go to a hotel and you get breakfast, it's one of the only times lately where you're really connecting with people of totally different backgrounds during your travel. So in the actual hotel, you go out to your room, you might go to the gym, but at breakfast, you get to really talk to people, engage with others. You're all experiencing the same thing. And one thing that we really wanted to highlight is the community element of breakfast. We also were noticing that when people come to our breakfast, we have a great menu, but people don't often know that people mix and match items at breakfast, and they do it in really creative ways. And so we really wanted to shine the light on the creativity around breakfast. And so with that, I'll have them roll our current Holiday Express breakfast campaign. I think they're going to play our campaign.
Great. Oh, wonderful.
Free Holiday Inn Express breakfast, anyone?
Express yourself. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Express yourself. You don't ever need help from nobody else. All you got to do now
impressive. Enjoy our free, fresh, hot breakfast any way you like. Only at Holiday Inn Express by IHG Hotels and Resorts.
That's great. That really emphasizes the community aspect of it. And what I was going to ask about that, I guess my question was already answered, was how were you bringing the brand of IHG and Holiday Inn Express together? And it's very clearly seen in that particular ad.
Yes, I mean, we are a portfolio of brands, and we like to make sure that people understand that we are a family. So, sometimes you might want to travel and you're going to a soccer game over the weekend with your families. You might stay at Holiday Inn Express, but you also might want to take your wife on a weekend vacation and stay at Intercontinental. So it's super important that people know about the 17 brands within IHG Hotels and Resorts.
And what is the status of the current campaign? Is it mostly a digital video, linear, out of home?
All of it.
All the
So
above.
we have all of the above. We are across multiple channels, whether or not radio. We are in movie theaters. We are on airplanes. You can see us everywhere, cable. So super excited about this campaign. We're very much invested in breakfast as an experience for the Holiday Inn Express guests and want to make sure that message gets out there. And also when we look at the linkage studies for our campaign, it's one of the strongest performance campaigns around linkage and in likability. So we're super excited about the delivery of the campaign as well.
Could you expand a little bit on that? Because so often there was the heads and beds focus, and this
Yes.
is certainly taking it to another step.
Yes. It's interesting that you bring that up, because when we think about a product that you're trying to sell, for us, we're focused on selling heads and beds. Technically, it's a great place for you to have a good night's sleep. But there are also additional amenities that we sell. We sell offering you a great breakfast so that you can save money when you travel and have that time of community with whoever you're traveling with. We also sell you convenience. We have 3,000 hotels through scale. We also sell you great service. So you want to make sure that when you're engaging with people at our hotel, you feel connected to those people. And we sell cleanliness. It's super important that, especially in this day and age, and it's always been in the hotel industry, that we offer a clean environment. And so in knowing what we're selling to our guests, it's truly important that we focus on the amenities that we know are going to be differentiators. And for Holiday Inn Express, breakfast is one of them. If you talk to somebody who's a Holiday Inn Express loyalist, they'll talk about the pancakes, they'll talk about the cinnamon rolls. And if you go on to a lot of our social media posts, people are expressing how much they love the Holiday Inn Express breakfast. So we really wanted to shine a light on the breakfast.
Well, I could say from personal experience, that was what was a motivating factor for me recently. I was had a quick little family trip, and this was going to be the first time I was spending time in a hotel room with my father. And so
nice.
we, like I said before, member of many different rewards points, and we're going to Orange County, California. And I was just looking at the different places, economical, quick, easy, and certainly breakfast was one of them, because getting my father around, it was just going to be a lot easier if everything was there in one place. And looking at the different options I had, I went with the Holiday Inn Express in Newport.
Oh, excellent.
And it was great, and the food really was terrific. But what the other element was, it was so much more efficient and well lit, and then I was able to do work and plug up in a normal way. I think sometimes some of these older hotels, it's hard to find all the right plugs and inputs and everything.
I love that you brought that up.
So there you go. That was my motivating factor. My father just liked the breakfast the most.
Yeah, no, I love that you brought up the design, because Holiday Inn Express is definitely focused on being a place where, whether or not you're there for work or you're there to relax, you have everything that you need. And so that's why I think people choose our brand, because we are offering everything you need. So thank you so much for bringing that up.
Yeah, I mean, I have to assume that you're seeing a difference in consumer behavior and expectations when it comes to travel. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Definitely. So before COVID, when we were engaging with our guests, we noticed our guests really were looking to get out and explore. So they were truly only coming to Holiday Inn Express for a great night's sleep, get their breakfast, and leave. And then during COVID, or I guess we're still kind of experiencing it, but in post 2020 world, our guests are really focused on making sure that everything is at the right cleanliness standards, that they have all the amenities, but there's this additional element that they're looking for from us. They really want to know that we care for them. They want that moment where they're asked, how are you doing? How was your trip? What can I do for you? And those additional moments really do matter to guests. We're also seeing that people are booking Holiday Inn Expresses within very short booking windows. So whereas before they might have planned it 3 or 4 days in advance, now they're planning it 1 or 2 days in advance. People on a Friday are saying, you know what, let's go 2 hours away and explore someplace nearby, but someplace I've never been before. And so because they're booking at such short windows, we have to be ready for guests. So we're getting hotels that are fully booked, but getting fully booked within 48 hours at times. And so that's really interesting for us from an operations perspective to make sure that we're delivering on guest expectations. And then one of our sister brands, Crown Plaza, they just did this phenomenal study. Look it up if you have a chance. It's on Blended Travel. And one thing that I thought was really interesting about the study is it shows that we're meeting two needs, right? For leisure guests, people want to relax, they want to explore. For business guests, they're trying to also relieve some of the anxiety of leaving home, right? Because people have enjoyed spending more time with their families the last couple of years. So you have to kind of give them a reason to travel. And so when you're focused on the business guests, you really want to make sure that they know we recognize that they've left their home, that they've left conveniences, and that we're going to kind of make this home away from home for them. One stat that came out of that is 80% of business travelers are worried that their personal lives will suffer if they go back to traveling the way they did pre-2020. So because of that, we're very much focused on programming that builds connectivity on property. We're very much focused on making sure that their stays are delivering on every expectation they have around the hotel. But then we also are very appreciative of the fact that people are choosing our brands when they travel. Another thing that we really learned was that as guests are traveling with us, they're reinforcing to us this care for expectation through brand messaging. So one thing that they've said is they want to feel as though they're having a wellness experience or a healing experience. I saw 56% of US travelers are looking for this transcendental experience where they feel better after they leave. And sometimes that feeling better after they leave is not necessarily going to a boot camp or going to a spa. Sometimes just having a moment to yourself. And so as hoteliers, we have to enable those moments as well.
I would assume that goes the same for both business and leisure travelers, correct?
Absolutely, it does. But it's even more important, I think, for business travelers because they're so focused on whatever they're trying to achieve for that trip, that having that additional moment to yourself provides a sense of, reflection, joy, and more meaning to the trip as well.
A bit of a shameless plug about the less than 2 hours is we're certainly seeing that at GSTV. I mean, more people are on the road taking their holidays, going 2 hours outside and finding hotel stays. So I guess the notion of revenge travel is absolutely still very much alive.
Oh, absolutely. I think we're seeing some of the strongest performance we've ever seen, very close to 2019 levels, if not better, in certain regions. And so super excited about travel these days. And I think, if anybody's interested in enjoying a growing industry, travel is it, because folks are getting out there, they're seeing their family, they're seeing new places, and they're excited to experience life again.
Do you think as things perhaps wane or not as far as our current pandemic, do you think that we all know the future of travel is going to change, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on how you think it's going to actually change.
Yes. So last time when I did this session, I said that the future of travel is highly dependent on the future of work. And I still think that's especially true. we have to make sure we are connecting the dots between work-life balance and our travel needs. And the way in which we're doing that is working with our B2B partners, so some of the largest companies in the world, to make sure that when their employees are traveling, they are having the best experience possible. We also know that people just want more flexibility when they travel. So even if they're traveling for work, they might want to add on a leisure stay. They might want to bring their family, bring their friends. And so because of that, we're really invested in thinking about rates and programs that enable people to build in different types of trips on one type of trip or on one trip. The other thing that I think is really important is digital experiences. So if you connect both the physical experience of being within a hotel and being a part of a physical building, and then the digital experience when you think about when you book a hotel, you book it on your phone, you go to the website, there's checking in, there's picking your room, there are all these digital products along the way. And one thing I think is really interesting when you think about the connection between physical and digital is that they have to be seamless. And so we're really thinking about the marrying of both of these elements as we think about the future of travel. And then the last point I think is really important to me is empathy. So as a guest, when I go into a hotel and I'm checking in, I'm thinking about a lot of different topics. I'm thinking about what my family is eating for dinner. I'm thinking about whether or not I have to go on another trip the next day. I'm thinking about the work presentation I need to do. But you also have to remember that those team members that are working at the hotel are thinking about how do they make your stay the best. They also may be thinking about their friends and family. They also might be limited in staff. As you know, it's hard to find really great talent these days. It's very competitive, and so they're trying to do 2 or 3 jobs when when it's just one person. And so I think empathy is going to be really important going forward. That as a guest, I am truly empathetic to the team members that are trying to service me, and then as a hotelier, that we're truly empathetic to all the things that our guests are thinking about when they enter into our hotels.
So you mentioned the empathy. You're obviously on the road a bit. How does that translate into how you view your marketing ideas and the partners that you choose? And the purpose of my question is, it's so refreshing to get out and about amongst our fellow citizens, but also great to get out and about amongst those who are our fellow marketers. So in those conversations and in your personal experiences, how are you making these decisions as far as the messaging for the future?
Well, first, just generally messaging to our guests. We're very much focused on the right data, utilizing the right data to determine what brand messaging is going to resonate the most to guests. And I think that data is not just demographic data, but it's also that psychographic data, truly understanding their needs and wants and how travel fits into what success looks like for them. But then in terms of engaging with other brand marketers or just engaging with people in travel in general, I absolutely agree with you. I miss going to conferences. And every time I get a chance to connect with people across different industries, in different areas of marketing, it's a great opportunity to learn and grow. And I think the way in which we think about IHG is we want to be partners to those that have tangentially related to travel. So whether or not you offer credit cards around travel, or whether or not you support travel because you offer product and luggage, or you're somebody who offers an amenity that could be an add-on to our IHG One loyalty program. Those are the sort of partners we tend to really engage with because we want to augment the experience for our guests. And we recognize that we're doing a lot, and we're owning the stay, we're owning food and beverage, we're owning loyalty, but our partners will play a significant role in delivering a great experience.
And I guess when you think about just the future of travel, what you articulated, and if you could expand a little bit more on the future of travel marketing, brand marketing, and how that is going to look.
Yes. So brand marketing and travel, it used to all look the same. What you would see was a whole bunch of people showing up in a great location, hugging each other, showing connectivity. You've seen the commercial. You might have seen the same commercial, but with a different brand on it over and over and over again. I think what you're going to start to see is a really focus on the features that differentiate the brand. So for Holiday Inn Express, as I mentioned, we really focused on breakfast and connectivity and community around breakfast. You'll start to see people talk about technology. You'll start to see people talk about service as an add-on amenity. So going above and beyond what you would expect in a hotel. So even though we have 17 different brands, 6,000 hotels around the world, and you can get a variety of different experiences, places that are really cool, we also know that when you come to us because we offer a product, which is an experience that is differentiated from competitors. And so I think you're going to start to see more of a focus on those features than just the stays and where they are.
And did you look, well, I should ask you this question. Have you seen additional partners come into the fold that maybe 5 years ago you weren't necessarily looking at for the future of travel?
That's a great question. I mean, I think for one, new social media platforms is a big one. TikTok has skyrocketed. Like I said, we are the first brand on TikTok for IHG hotels and resorts, and we're seeing such great performance on that platform. And what's interesting about social media and the way in which TikTok is approaching it is it's not even really about connecting with your friends and family. It's really about learning about new brands, new experiences from people who seem like you, which is kind of a new way of approaching that sort of medium. Other partners that we're looking at are definitely in the technology space. So everything around brand messaging to our guests. When you think about on-property messaging, that's really important. We want to make sure that we're able to respond really quickly to guests when they have needs. We're also really focused on the sort of amenities that you might want to get through the loyalty program. So add on ways in which you can spend your points. So if you have any great services, products that you think guests would love, please reach out to us because maybe we'll bring it into our loyalty program. And then lastly, we're always thinking about growing in new markets. We actually just launched Holiday Inn Express in Japan. And with every new market comes new localization efforts. And so, and that's really across everything at the hotel, right? So everything from food and beverage to the experience on property, but it's also when you think about channel distribution, how we engage with B2B partners locally. If you are a regional player that thinks you can play a big role in a global brand, we're excited to hear from you too.
I that whole community aspect, and it goes with what you said in the beginning, how these are mostly franchisees. Do they have a say? What is their say in the marketing messages?
They definitely have a say. Their fees actually go to pay for our marketing spend. So they have a say. I actually chair the board for the Holiday Inn Express owners and meet with them quarterly to understand their needs around marketing strategy and how we can drive demand to their hotels. So we definitely take their perspective seriously, and I'm always excited to deliver new marketing campaigns for them because it helps drive customers to them. The other piece of it is we're very much focused on growing new brands that help enable the scale of IHG hotels and resorts, and so that also benefits all brands. Like when you invest in loyalty or you invest in a master brand, it helps every individual brand. So our owners are super excited about that as well.
I mean, you're obviously a marketing pro, but how did IHG recruit you and what brought you over?
Oh, like everyone else, I was recruited for this role, and it was an exciting opportunity to lead the Holiday Inn Express brand globally. So it's been great. I think they were really looking for somebody who knew marketing, but also was a strategist. And I spent many years as a strategist, just thinking about technology companies, other global brands, and ways in which that they can grow and how they can create operating models for growth. And so it's been exciting to be leading Holiday Inn Express at IHG Hotels and Resorts. If anybody ever gets a chance to come work here, please check it out.
That's great. You obviously have a very discerning eye when you travel. I can assume that you're rather critical, knowing what best looks like.
Mhm.
But what about in marketing? What are your kind of general thoughts on the current state of travel marketing right now? Um, and I'd like to kind of more or less inside baseball from you as like what your view of it is currently. What are people doing right? What are people doing wrong?
Oh, I don't want to be too critical about my friends across many
What are
other
people doing
brands,
right? We'll say
but
that.
I'll focus on what I think people are doing right. I think people who are focused on the human element around travel are doing it right. So really like honing into not just, why people get up and leave their home and stay somewhere else, but really like, what is everyone going through right now? They've experienced this global pandemic. We're coming out of it, and people are trying to recreate a new life. And those that are really focusing on amenities and products that are going to enable success as they recreate a new life in new places, whether or not they're traveling for leisure or they're doing a leisure trip and connecting business and leisure together, or they're going to a conference for the first time, going out on the road. Many of our salespeople are now going on the road full time, and they remember those moments with their team where they bonded, but they also remember their families back home. So I think those that are really focused on the human element around travel are really doing a phenomenal job. I think those that are really focused on the features and amenities that are going to make a difference while you travel are doing a phenomenal job. And then I think the last piece is just those that are really honing into performance. Because sometimes when you invest in brand marketing, people are really just focused on investing on messaging and getting something out there and making sure that you're checking the box. But at the end of the day, marketing is about performance. You want to be delivering a great experience for your guests, but you also want to know that your guest has chosen your brand because it knows exactly what it's going to get when it travels. So I think the marketers that are focused on performance and delivering not just guests coming to your hotel, but delivering loyalty, those marketers are the ones that are really successful.
And how are you measuring success in your marketing programs?
We're measuring success based upon growth. So the number of guests that are coming to our hotels on a repeated basis. We're measuring success based upon reach. So how many people are actually seeking out our marketing, responding to our marketing. We're measuring success based upon likability because we have a lot of new brands as well, and we want to improve our brand awareness. But we also want to make sure that we're creating some connectivity between our brand and the guests. And then ultimately, long term, we're measuring our success based upon consideration. Because I told you that when people book a Holiday Inn Express or book an IHG Hotels and Resorts hotel, they often are booking within very short time frames. Mm-hmm. And so when they search for us, I want them to say, you know what, I saw that commercial. It seemed like a really great place to check out. It's affordable. It's in the right location. I love their loyalty program. Let me check out Holiday Inn Express, or let me check out Kimpton or IHG Hotels and Resorts. That's what we want people to say, because it's sometimes you've had those moments where you're just searching for a hotel and you may or may not be a part of the loyalty program, but you're like, I don't know about this. What have I seen about it? And I want people to say, I'm choosing this brand because I feel positive about it. I know they're going to deliver a consistent, high quality experience. And I know that I don't have to worry about it when I get there. So that's how we measure our successes. Ultimately, that our guests tell us that they are happy to be a part of our loyalty program and happy to be connected to our brand.
You know, I'm just going back to the commercial that you showed, and thank you for sharing that. It did feel like almost like a homecoming. It didn't feel like travelers per se, but rather just, you know, everybody in for the big homecoming game or something. There was a connectivity there.
Yes, absolutely. You know, it's interesting you bring that up because sports is a big player in our business. A lot of folks stay at Holiday Expresses because they're traveling for sports games, homecoming, soccer teams, just connecting with each other over breakfast. And so it does feel like a homecoming for people in general when they are at the breakfast area and they can connect with others and they're talking to the breakfast host. But we also wanted to feel like a homecoming for those that are going to sporting events and just reconnecting with other parents, kids connecting with one another. And so thank you so much for noting that. It definitely has a community feel in the breakfast area.
Well, I certainly felt that, and I did feel it at the Holiday Inn Express in Newport Beach. My father, who from kindergarten through grad school went to school with a coat and tie on, was a little alarmed that one of the kids was just wearing a bathing suit at the breakfast table at the Holiday Inn Express. And I had to explain to him things have changed. And we are in Newport Beach, just down the road. Great service.
Hopefully most people are dressed, but we encourage people to come as they are and enjoy themselves.
It's certainly welcoming. We only have a few more minutes left, and I'd love to see if there's any questions or any Q&A for you. I don't see any questions, at least not yet.
No worries. If anybody,
I think people were so well versed in your comments that there's not a whole lot of questions, which is great.
Yeah,
I think I just think it's very interesting. I think it's very exciting. Just here in New York, just running into tourists everywhere. Everything has the right momentum of being back. I'm seeing, we see a lot more travel partners on our platform. I'm seeing a lot more travel advertisers everywhere. And that to me just means that there will be continuously a boon for the travel industry.
Yes, absolutely. I think travel is going to continue to grow, and we're so excited about this industry. So like I said, anybody who's interested in coming, I'm always recruiting for IC Hotels and Resorts. Anybody's interested in coming over.
Stephanie, I do have a question from the room. How do in-room product amenities support the brand experience, in your opinion?
Oh gosh, they're such a big part of the brand experience. I have a whole team dedicated to in-room product amenities, and we spend a lot of time on consumer research on every element that's within your hotel room. So whether or not you are talking about the bedding, the mattress, the table where you work, the window covering, the artwork, the carpet. I have a meeting on each and every one of those items to ensure that we're delivering a great experience for you. And so if you think about some of our biggest partners, some of them are the ones that provide some of those in-room products. And we go through renovation cycles within the hotel business. And so for us, it's between 3 to 5 years and then 10 to 14 years, depending on what the changes are. But if you can imagine, those are big buys when we choose to change a mattress or we choose to change the carpet within a hotel room across our estate. And so those partners are truly important to us because we want to make sure we're picking high quality items that are going to last a long time and be durable, given there are so many different types of guests coming into the rooms and so many different stays that they're going to experience. But we also want to make sure that it's designed forward. People feel welcoming, feels like a home away from home. And it's like when you walk into a whole room and you feel at home. It's just like you can put your bag down, you can relax. And so anytime I walk into a hotel room, that's how I assess it. Do I feel at home? And we have a whole design center in Atlanta. If you're ever in Atlanta, please reach out to us. We can show you. We have mock-up design rooms of every brand. And so when I walk into those model rooms, even, my question is, do I feel at home? How can we make sure that we're investing in the right sort of products within this room experience and also within the public space that creates that sort of feeling and makes people feel more connected to the stay and more connected to the brand?
Well, that's great. I have learned a lot, Stephanie, and I certainly can see what the future of marketing is for IHG. And it certainly looks very bright, and it gets me excited to go travel more. Carrie, I don't know, when's the last time you've been on the road and traveling a bit?
My last event was actually in Miami in March. And Stephanie, I do want to talk to you because I'm coming to Atlanta soon. So
Excellent.
we need to connect.
We do. I'm looking forward to it.
We got some good live events. Since you're a fan of those, I've got some of those I'll tell you about offline.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, I'm always down to connect with brand innovators. So thank you so much for having me. Terry, thank you so much for such a great conversation. It's always exciting to talk about the future of travel, to talk about IHG Hotels and Resorts, and to talk about Holiday Inn Express.
Thank you so very much, Stephanie, and Carrie. Thank you for shepherding this. Have a
Absolutely.
wonderful
Thank
day,
you.
everyone.
Take care.
Bye, folks. That was a great chat, and I definitely want to check out that warehouse of design stuff, which sounds amazing. Let's bring our next speakers up. Let's keep the travel going. We're going to talk to our speaker, Michael Hecht, the managing director at Delta Airlines. And I think we're missing a little bit of your title there, Michael. I'm so sorry. And moderated by Stephen Elliott, the VP of Client Development and Partnerships at Rad AI. Hey, guys.
Hi, good morning. Wow, that was an incredible session with Stephanie and Terry. That was awesome. Michael, how are you doing?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Excellent. Well, I'm glad we each got the note to wear blue shirts today. No.
It's the uniform. I only own blue shirts, it seems.
Well, hey, you're there with Delta, and it's a pleasure to be with you, Michael, and definitely preparing for this. I've been looking forward to that and really enjoy the energy that's already part of this summit, and definitely Stephanie's sharings and such. I think it'll be really good to build some momentum on. So if you don't mind, I want to jump into it right now. You're almost at a decade with Delta, and that sounds actually kind of nice. Someone that after every 3 to 4 years, I'm looking for a new venture, and to see that you've been there for about a decade, yet you've grown tremendously quickly. And I'm sure you have a lot of stories. You mind sharing a little bit about your journey with Delta?
Yeah, sure. Happy to. I have been with Delta for now 9 years, which is crazy. I came down here, I moved from New York, and I think we might talk about it earlier. I had a career in consulting before this, but I've always been super interested in the airline and aviation business. I have my pilot's license, and I grew up wanting to fly planes or something like that, but took a business path in my career and joined Delta 9 years ago in the loyalty program. I've spent the majority of my time at Delta in loyalty in various aspects. And I think, what's been great about my time here is the ability to really see Delta build an even stronger brand. Joined here in 2013 when we had just come off a merger with Northwest Airlines. We were really a forefront in the industry and building a great brand. But over that time have done so much. And, obviously seeing the good times, been through the past couple of years, which is, I think in the airline industry, that's how you earn your stripes, by living through a crisis. Many of us hadn't, because we were hired, since 2010 or so. And now we've been through that, and it's really exciting to see the traveling public come back and to have such a, huge loads on the airplane this summer. I remember walking through the airport during the pandemic, and it was like a ghost town, and it was really, really sad. Now you go through the airport in summer, and we're back and better than ever. And it's great to see people try and see our, use our products.
Yeah, I mean, as much as I miss traveling during the pandemic with very light planes and empty airports, it is nice to have life back, to see friends traveling, have friends travel to come see me, to go and visit people. And I bet it's a joy for you and Delta to see things are getting really busy now.
No, it's great. And, I would be remiss if I didn't thank all the people that work in the airport and on our airplanes and in our reservation centers, because this summer, travel is back, right? And after a couple of years of travel not being back, it takes a lot to just remember and have some kindness and work full planes again and make sure that we're running a great operation. So it's a huge thank you to them, because we can do all that we want in the corporate office and all the marketing and all the branding and all the product development, but the people that actually deliver that service are the people in the field.
Yeah, absolutely. And being a client of yours, I'm grateful for it too. Totally enjoying the experience. Now, before Delta, you had another life, let's just say it like that, and another career. And would you mind sharing a quick highlight of your little highlight reel of your career, and then how your consulting experience has actually empowered you with what you're doing now?
Yeah, sure. So my career prior to joining Delta 9 years ago was all in consulting. I call it the undeclared major of the business world. So I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do when I grew up. And so I joined a consulting firm out of college and had the opportunity to work on a ton of strategy and operations projects for clients throughout the world. Then went back to business school and then did a few more years of consulting. But what I took away from that was really the ability to think strategically, solve problems, work with cultures throughout the world. Just prior to joining Delta, I spent 3 years for a small boutique consulting firm called Seabury Group that does airline and aerospace consulting. So the good news was it introduced me to the airline space, which I really enjoyed. But it also allowed me to work in Abu Dhabi, in Calgary, in Morocco. I was all over the place. And what that really taught me was how to build relationships, build partnerships, get things done cross-culturally, and see that, on the average, like business is the same and the problems that people are solving are the same across the world, but the way you solve them and how you get to the solution might be a little bit different. And I've taken that all with me through my career and now into Delta to kind of go see the other side and actually own some of the things that I work on, deliver them for our customers, and make this place a better place for everybody.
Yeah, I know as we were connecting and preparing for this, it seemed as though your passion really is solving problems, to see the world, and then you were able to translate that passion into a career. And dare I say, on a personal note, I could feel Stephanie's passion coming through just now, and then your passion definitely can sense it as looking at some of the challenges and problems that you're currently on. So I want to go back to your current role, and I'd like to ask about a phrase you said when we connected the other day, which is keep climbing. Would you mind sharing for all of us what that means?
Yeah, so keep climbing. I think that's a mantra here at Delta, which came out of that merger that I talked about. I think in our first marketing campaign during the merger and coming out of the merger, we had this tagline, "Keep climbing," and it's stuck for the next 12 years or so. And keep climbing to us is really about how do we continue to do better and better every day. And it's two words that I think get all of our employees really rallied around. So we're never going to be perfect, but we can be better than we were yesterday. And that's kind of the thing that we go back to say, like, just keep climbing, right? What's the next best thing? How do I solve a problem today? How do I make the experience better for our customers? How do we make that next best investment in the customer experience? Just keep climbing, because if we keep going up, that'll keep us focused on the right North Star. I think sometimes you can be distracted by the competitors or what's going on in the world. And there's a whole lot of things that can that make you lose your focus. But if you kind of go back to that whole, let's just keep climbing, we'll do better. We'll do better every day. And that's going to get us to a better place. I also think through like the past 2 years and COVID and the pandemic we went through, we made a little bit of a twist to that keep climbing mantra, and we said, keep climbing together. So that was something that we used internally in the early days of the pandemic when life was really scary. We didn't know what was going on. Our planes weren't full. But by kind of going back to that mantra in our DNA and saying, keep climbing together, right? It made us feel like we're in this together. We're a family. We're going to get through this. We don't know when the other side's going to be, but we're going to get there. And that was something that we all really rallied around as a company, which led to some really great decisions that helped build our brand over the past couple of years and continue to propel us forward now.
Yeah, I love that. When thinking about the theme of today, the future of travel, and having been a Delta traveler myself, as I shared with you, since I've been a kid, traveling from the US to Venezuela, where I grew up, it's been really neat to hear how you all discuss it internally and then how I feel it on the receiving end. And definitely, I've sensed it domestically as I travel, that Delta is continuing to climb, as I know that it's the choice of flight for many of not just my family members, but inner circle about, we like the screens on the back of the chairs. We like to be able to charge with the USB cable. I like to be able to have a credit card with a brand that, as I use it daily, I'm able to pay for trips, dare I say, for free, just with all the loyalty points. And so if you don't mind, I would like to ask you to highlight some of the neat experiences as you all are continuing to climb, maybe touching on the Porsche experience or some of the Delta Premium Select now that you're rolling out.
Well, yeah, happy to. I mean, one thing you mentioned was sort of like your living room, right? And when we think about the airplane and the experience we want to deliver, we want you to feel like you're in your living room or as close as you can. And we've made a lot of decisions, and we'll continue to make decisions that make that experience like your living room, right? So we've got, I'm pretty sure we have the most seat back screens in the industry. And that's because if you were in your living room, right, you're probably watching TV and playing with your phone at the same time. We all multitask, right? And your phone needs to charge, right? So there needs to be a place to plug it in. And you might be listening to music. So we've got partnerships with Spotify, right? So that's all making it more and more like your living room, so that you arrive ultimately, and I think Stephanie mentioned this earlier, we really want you to arrive better than you left, right? We want you to be well rested. We want you to feel like healthful, and we want you to be relaxed. We know the travel experience can be stressful. I think the airport, my personal opinion is the airport is one of the most anxious, stressful places you can be in the world. And anything we can do, and we've got a lot of innovation coming to make it even better, but anything we can do to reduce that anxiety and stress is going to make sure that you arrive on the other end of your trip well rested, ready to take on whatever is on the other side, whether that's a birthday party for your grandkid, or it's a business meeting, or it's a wedding. You're going to be in good shape when you get there. In terms of other sort of innovation, we continue to see, and we can talk more about it as we think through the demand environment, but one thing coming out of the past 2 years is there is an increased demand for premium products. And one thing that my team today focuses on a lot is defining what are the premium products that we can sell, right? And then we work with lots of groups internally to develop those products and make sure we can deliver them. And one thing that we rolled out in 2019, and we've continued to roll out this summer, is what we call Delta Premium Select. So that's a experience. It's a premium economy experience, and it's really nice. It's attainable by a lot of people, and it sits somewhere between Delta One, which is our international lie flat business class type of seat, and our main cabin and Comfort Plus products. And so we've seen a ton of demand for this Delta Premium Select experience. We're going to continue to invest in it. And I think one thing you would see is last week we were really we led the industry in launching this product to Hawaii. So on Friday we announced that we're adding Delta Premium Select on 3 of our long haul Hawaii routes, and we're looking forward to seeing how that books up. But I knock on wood, I think demand is going to be through the roof for that product, because it's a really great way, as you're taking probably a vacation or maybe going on your honeymoon to Hawaii, to treat yourself to something a little bit better. And we're looking forward to see that roll out in more routes as we continue to update our fleet and roll it out to places that there's demand for that product. Similarly, I think you mentioned the Porsche. So we've got a partnership with Porsche. We've had that partnership for a number of years. And in our key stations, so our hubs, some of our coastal markets, we've got Porsche cars and what we call elite services. So that's members of our frontline staff that meet our highest value customers. It's also a paid service. So if you want extra special treatment, we'll either surprise and delight our highest value customers, or you can pay for it. And we'll meet you plane side. We'll put you in a Porsche. We'll drive you to the Sky Club. We'll drive you to baggage claim. We'll drive you to your connecting flight. And it's something that is not only a great service that people really love, but if you follow Delta or some of our customers on like Instagram, it's an Instagram worthy experience that people really love the surprise and delight and post about it online.
Yeah, I mean, both of those experiences, I'm looking forward to hopefully one day enjoying. And secondarily, when we connected, it actually really impressed me when you and I were talking around, dare I say, my foolish question, asking, hey, will there ever be a day when Delta owns the airport and is fully vertically integrated? Yet then you provided some insight about who owns the airport, the air traffic control towers, and then as well, you're navigating within a myriad of government agencies and outside owned, and yet you speak about something relatively complex so easily. Would you mind? I just wanted to double click on some of the complexities in which you and your team have to navigate. It's not just a matter of now you have some seats with some extra room on a plane. There's a lot that goes into that.
Yeah, so there's a lot that goes to it. I mean, I'm not the expert to talk about vertical integration. I imagine we're probably not in an industry where we're going to own the airport and the air traffic control and the security and all those things. For a variety of reasons. But what again, like at the end of the day, the buck stops with us when it comes to the customer experience, and people, when they fly, they're trusting Delta to deliver an experience that meets and exceeds their expectations. And so we're constantly working with everyone, with the FAA, with airport authorities all throughout the country and the world, Customs and Border Patrol, we're working with all these groups. Sometimes it's even vendors in the airport to make sure there's food for you to eat if you're waiting for a flight. I know that was kind of a challenge over the past couple of years with staffing. And so we're working with all of those entities in each of the airports that we serve to make sure that we're giving our customers the best experience we can, right? And that's even sometimes funding the innovation that goes into the airport. So an example of that is some here in Atlanta, where I'm based in our hometown. We've made some innovations in the airport security experience, and some of that is funded by Delta by putting in new equipment that is more user friendly and speeds up the process. So we're constantly working with all those entities to make sure that we're delivering the right experience.
Yeah, wow, that's super impressive. And I would say something else that really is impressive is your understanding of the industry as a whole, of course, and your brand and obviously your role. And so I wanted to start with the industry. Would you mind sharing what's happening with the mix of travel? That really blew me away because I'm actively involved with it, but I wasn't thinking about it the way that you broke it down.
Yeah, and I think this actually builds again on what Stephanie was saying. So travel is back, right? That's the great news. Like people want to travel. After a few years, there's pent up demand for travel. And this summer, everyone's back out on the road. And so we've seen travel nearly or above fully recovered to 2019 levels in a lot of our markets, which is great. And leisure travel is leading the way. So leisure travel is back. Domestic travel was leading the way, but as we've seen as countries open up, remove some of the restrictions on travel, like the minute those restrictions go away, people are very, very interested in taking out their passport and going somewhere. And so that's great. And we kind of continue to see that demand. On the business travel front, Stephanie also mentioned this, right? Like the future of work, a little bit TBD. I think we're kind of figuring that out as we go. And that has an impact on corporate travel demand and business travel demand, which we continue to see recover. We're about 80% recovered on domestic corporate demand in recent months, and we're going to continue to see that tick back up. So the good news is we know travel is here to stay. I think the question mark and what we're continuing to work through is what does that future look like, especially on the corporate side? Because with more flexibility and hybrid work and the ability for people perhaps to not live in the same place where their office is, that's going to lead to new things, right? That's going to lead to team outings to maybe exotic locations, once a quarter, or people actually flying from wherever their hometown is to the corporate office maybe once a month. So seeing how that settles is something that we're going to keep our eye on. And the good news is we've got a really nimble network and a nimble set of airplanes that we can redeploy based on where those travel demands take us over the next several years. And then I think the other piece is this concept of bleisure. So I mentioned I've been at Delta 9 years. We've been talking about bleisure, I think all 9 of those years, and done a lot of research on it, and it's come up in a lot of focus groups. And not that bleisure didn't exist before, but I think we are now in the era of bleisure travel, right? So this idea that you can take your family with you and maybe work from a remote location for a week and combine a vacation with work, or extend your work trip for an extra weekend and see a new city, or bring your family to spend time with you. I think that's the future. And the good news there is while travel patterns may change and the destinations that people want to go to may change a little bit, travel's still there. People want to connect with each other, and we're ready to serve them.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to make sure my CEO sees this recording and pay attention to the exotic trips section of this. No, all joking aside, I am grateful that at RAD, we actually have a distributed workforce. And what we've been doing is when we travel for client meetings or other get-togethers, always trying to include a team member or 2 additional to bring together. And that's been so special. Since we don't have that day-to-day interaction, yet we're very productive having those little moments. And so it is unique to see even myself as it really is transforming, and to know that Delta and others are really watching this to say, this is the new, and how can we make this even better than what they're able to do on their own? So I'm looking forward to it, man.
I'll put in a plug because we not only announced the Hawaii stuff, which I talked about last week, but we added a new dot to the route map, Tahiti. So if you're looking for an exotic team outing, Tahiti might be something to look at.
Yeah, say no more. I'll go to Moorea any day. And I mean, as well, when I think about the industry and just shifting travel plans, you have a lot of planes, and that whole fleet was built to service a demand that went away for a little bit, and now it's coming back, and it's a shifting landscape. So how are you all handling that?
The shifting landscape of
Yeah, sorry,
destinations and
just
network.
demand. Maybe before there was lots of flights out of LA and New York, but now if you have a third of people moving from New York to Miami, well, now they're flying out of Miami, and then they need more planes down there.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So we're really fortunate that we've got the ability to redeploy assets and add back our network in a way that mimics the recovery of the demand environment. And so what we've done there, and this is not going to be a surprise to anyone, but as you think about our recovery versus where we were in 2019 and how the network has come back, we brought back leisure destinations before business destinations, and we've added flights to Florida, which has been, and Latin America, which have been hotspots over the past couple of years. And we've probably been a little bit slower to add back some flights from maybe New York or Seattle, because those were just parts of the country that kind of came back online in a slower fashion. But the good news is we're pretty much back to where we were, and we'll continue to follow those trends. Same thing, I mentioned Tahiti. We added Tahiti. I don't work in network planning, but I imagine part of that is that's just a popular destination. That's where people want to go. And we're continuing to talk to our customers, look at market data, and we'll add the flights to the places that people want to go. And it's good to work in an industry that can be that nimble, right? Within 60 or 90 days, we can change how the route structure looks like to make sure that we're flying the places people want to go.
Yeah, fascinating. Now I want to drill in on the brand a little because, I mean, granted, I'm biased. I've made that pretty known. And when you mention kind of the trajectory is to become more premium and creating these more premium experiences, at first I thought about in my head, Lewis Hamilton, F1 driver, and here he is top of the game, and he still wants to keep winning more. And I'm thinking, all right, Delta to me is already really premium. How much more premium can they get? So mind sharing some other really neat things that you're continuing to do to augment that premium experience?
Of course. So we are always trying to, like I said before, do better than we did the day before, right? So we're constantly looking at how do we make this travel experience better. On the premium side, I think it's certain things that we can do to increase the ability for you to travel in a way that reduces anxiety. And so I think two examples that come to mind from an innovation perspective that we've rolled out recently. One would be this parallel reality experience in Detroit. So if any of you fly through the Detroit airport, I highly suggest you find some time to check out this new big screen in the terminal, which is parallel reality. What it is one big screen, and based on biometrics and who you are, it's able to show 100 people at the same time, personalized information that no one else can see but you, which is, it's like mind blowing. It's amazing. It's something that, I don't know, like it comes out of a science fiction movie. But if you think about our goal to move towards an experience where you don't need a paper ticket anymore, you don't really even need a boarding pass, everything's through biometrics and it's streamlined, this ability to give everyone personalized information in a mass way, where only you can see it, can really increase that experience at the airport. So when you get off the plane, and you're connecting, you no longer have to look at a screen and find your flight out of a list of 50 flights. You just look up and it says, go to the right, it's a 10-minute walk. Thank you, Mr. Elliott. Like, you're at gate 827, just go. So really cool stuff. And there's a lot of scalable ways that this can be rolled out throughout the travel experience. So that's one. I think the other, which is really just cool, is the ability to check your bag without ever seeing an agent. So we talked before about a lot of government authorities and people that we work with. One of those is the TSA. And here in the US, before you check your bag, we need to check your ID and make sure you're the same person that's checking the bag. That's really important. And that involves needing a person. But we've partnered with the TSA to launch in a few airports, including Atlanta, a system that, using biometrics for our highest value frequent flyers, uses biometrics, matches your face with your ticket, and allows you to put a sticker on your bag, tag the bag, and send it on its way without ever seeing an agent. And as you can imagine, the test is going really well. As that scales up, that just makes the experience at the airport so much better. Fewer lines, and you can get on your way really quickly.
Incredible. I'm thinking about myself, and when I go to travel, how much I'm going to enjoy both of those. And I wonder if there's a way to track the decrease in anxiety and then the increase in productivity and enjoyment?
Yeah, we do a lot of surveys. So I think the answer to that is yes. We also do some research. One thing we've done in the past is you can actually like strap a heart rate monitor onto people and track them throughout the airport experience and the travel experience. And you know exactly where those pain points are from an anxiety perspective. And we'll continue to keep a pulse on that to see if this makes life better.
Yeah, incredible. And lastly, as we come up to time and before we open it up for Q&A, I wanted to go drill directly on your role, especially focusing on loyalty. I think there was a product that, in addition to the Detroit parallel reality, the 747 credit card. Mind touching on that in some details, because I'm stoked, and I'm sorry if I forgot to text you to say, hey, make sure you have yours. No. Wait.
Oh, that's all good. Yeah, I mean, prior to my current role, I spent a lot of time in loyalty, and as you might imagine, getting products to market takes years. And so something that we started a number of years ago and just launched recently was a credit card from our co-brand portfolio with American Express that's made out of a recycled 747. And something that's always struck me, like in the loyalty space, is our goal is to build an emotional connection with our customers, get you to think about Delta way more than just once or twice a year when you fly. And part of that is being really proud of the brand and carrying it with you and showing it to your friends. So one thing we did was we developed this card. Let's see if we can see it. We can see it here. Don't steal my number. But this card is actually made out of a retired 747. We retired our 747s in 2017. People who aren't like av geeks may not know, but it's a very iconic plane. It has that like double hump on the front of the plane. And our customers really love it. Our employees really love that plane. It was a really important aircraft in a certain point of time in aviation. That time maybe has passed. It's not super sustainable. It burns a lot of gas, but the plane is iconic. And so we thought to ourselves, how could we take this plane that's been retired and sitting in the desert and work with American Express and roll something out that really allows people to showcase their brand love for Delta, that aircraft. And we've launched that card a couple of months ago. It's doing really well. Maybe we don't have a great forecasting ability, or we don't have a crystal ball, but it's blowing out all the expectations in terms of how many cards we thought we would print. And we might need to get another plane to chop up because we've got a lot of demand for the product.
Yeah, I mean, I need one. So definitely, I'm sure other folks listening are looking forward to theirs. And look, we actually received a question that is similar to what I was going to end with before we open up to Q&A. So I'm just going to jump into it and share with you the question that came to us from the crowd, which is, what other unique brand partnerships are you enabling, and how do you deepen the connection both between the customer and the brand partner, and between Delta and the brand partner?
Yeah, so we're always looking for new partners, and we've launched a number of them over the past few years. So thinking about Instacart, Lyft, Peloton, Spotify, I think the common denominator goes back to something I said before. We want you to travel well. We want you to arrive better than you left. We want to make sure that the whole travel experience is as seamless and smooth and high in terms of customer satisfaction as possible. And so that's the theme I think you see through these partnerships, right? Lyft is a great way to get you to and from the airport. Instacart, like if you're coming back from a long vacation or a business trip and you don't have any food in your refrigerator, how great is it that you can use your benefits and the partnership to make sure that you're going to land, get home, and maybe an hour later, someone delivers groceries to your house. And Peloton and Spotify, that's all about that living room experience, right? So how can we use the IFE, the in-flight entertainment on the plane, to give you some good music, give you music that's going to help you rest, or give you a meditation through Peloton. These are all really great partnerships, and we'll continue to focus on finding more that improve the travel experience and work really well for both brands.
Amazing. Thank you for all the insights. And Carrie, I would say we would love to open it up for if there's another question or two.
Yeah, I don't see any in the queue, but let them rip. If you have a question, send them out. While we're waiting on that, Michael, I just have to say, because if I don't say it, he's gonna not forgive me. But speaking of loyalty, a friend of mine his Twitter identity is I Fly Delta. So like I totally get the brand loyalty, the way that people are treated. But yeah, it's literally in the blood. And I think he does have that card.
Yeah, no, I bet he does. And if not, let him know he should get one. But I think that's what's been so eye-opening in my time here is people are so passionate about travel, and we've done so much to invest in our brand and really building that brand beyond just a way to get from point A to point B to more of a lifestyle brand. And we've got so many great supporters that really look to Delta every time they fly.
Amazing. Hey, we have one more question, and then I have a fun bonus question for you, Mike. What is your favorite part of your job?
Oh, so the favorite part of my job, I mean, there are so many, but I think my favorite part of my job is meeting with our customers and our frontline staff, right? So anytime I can get to the airport or do a focus group or meet with customers and hear what they like and sometimes what they don't, that is the highlight of my job. And I'm kind of glad that we're getting back to more of those in-person occasions these days, because that was missing over the past couple of years.
Excellent. Well, cool. Well, I'll end with my fun bonus question, which is, what is your next trip that you're looking forward to and that you're excited about?
All right. So this is, I'm going to share a little bit more about myself than I should. I am going to London in 2 weekends, linking to what I said before about Peloton. I discovered Peloton during the pandemic. And so I am really excited to attend a live Peloton class in London in 2 Fridays. So that's the next trip.
Oh, amazing. Looking forward to that then, man.
It'll be fun.
Well, it's been a pleasure, Mike. Thank you for your time, your energy, and really the amazing work that you do that inspires now not just me, but I hope all the folks listening.
Awesome. Thank you, Stephen. It was a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Carrie and Brand Innovators. This has been wonderful.
Thank you both so much. It's been great.
Take care.
Take care.
All right, another awesome travel day ahead of us. Let's move on to our next session. We're gonna bring up Dana Lawrence, the Managing Director and Brand Marketing of American Airlines, with our moderator Ray Erickson, Travel and Hospitality Lead, Director of Sales and Brand for US Samsung Ads. So we'll keep to the airlines. We'll stay in the air for this one as well.
Wheels up, right?
Wheels up. There we go. Thank you for using an actual travel term that's related.
Yep,
Like,
of course.
What's going on?
Yeah, we're going to try to make this fun and no turbulence at all for the next 30 minutes.
Love it.
I can go on and on. I think are we just waiting for Dana?
Ray, I'm here.
So go.
Hey, Dana, how are you?
Great to see you.
Good to see you as well. How's everything?
Going well, busy as ever, but going really well. How about y'all?
Good. Been tuning in for the last hour and a half, listening to some great insights from some travel marketers over at IHG and Delta and now you. We've got a good 30 minutes ahead of us. I think we're going to try to leave some time at the end for some Q&A should any come in. Just by way of introduction for the crowd, again, my name is Ray Erickson. I head up our travel and hospitality category vertical over at Samsung Ads, which has been in business since about 2015. And I was tasked to start our travel category in the beginning of 2020. A little bit of an interesting time to start that category for obvious reasons. And we had our challenges, but I would say in the last year and a half, we've had a lot of success from a plethora of travel marketers leaning into the connected TV space, tapping into our 60 million smart TVs in the US across 40 million households, providing relevant targeting for those brands and providing meaningful measurement as well. I'm here joined today with Dana Lawrence, the Managing Director of Global Brand Marketing over at American Airlines. Welcome, Dana. So we did a little prep work last week just to get to know each other a little bit, and wanted to structure the conversation clearly around the future of travel for obvious reasons, and put it in a couple of different categories across making sure we touched upon the consumer experience and building upon that, the passenger experience, of course, touch upon the media strategy, what's been going on in the past a little bit, maybe right now, of course, and then more importantly, the future. Touch upon some of the partnerships that are going on, and again, more just focused around the future of travel with American Airlines. So before we jump into all that, Dana, it's always good for the audience to get an understanding of you and what you do, what you've been doing over there for the last, almost 4 years after I don't know, was it a 17, 18-year career over at PepsiCo?
Yeah, I have a CPB background, but have been here a while at American, and it's been great. It's been great. Yeah.
So tell us what's going on over there. Tell us what you're doing.
Yeah, so I lead global marketing at American, and the purview for my team is brand strategy, advertising, media. We do communications planning for some of those big communications that go across, all elements of the company. Also, we manage own channels, email, CRM, as well as digital content on AA.com, and then also sponsorships and activations. So, and of course, we connect so strongly with different teams in American, but those are the focus areas, and definitely keeps us busy over here, but always exciting, a lot going on, and a lot to be excited about with travel these days.
Sure. So speaking of that, let's talk about there's a lot going on. I want to make sure we address the elephant in the room, with all things aviation and travel. Obviously not specific to American, more of just the industry. There's been a lot that's impacted the industry in the last 2 years with the pandemic. And currently with as a result with supply chain issues and labor shortages and weather and air traffic control and all the above. The question I have is, despite all those issues, American is growing, as evident by most recent Q2 earnings, a profitable quarter, still positive sentiment across the board. Share with us how American has been solving for some of these issues.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was great for us to have that profitable Q2 after 2 years of COVID. I feel like it just kind of confirms the trajectory that we are on, both as a company and with the travel category overall. And if you think about it, I spoke at Brand Innovators. It was the Future of Travel Livecast. I think it was February of 2021. And
yep.
Gosh, it's amazing to think how much has changed in the travel industry in just a year and a half. And we're just excited that demand for travel has returned, and that we're seeing people want to travel more than ever before. And we're proud that American is on the forefront of that. We actually flew in Q2 25% more flights than our next largest competitor. So, we really want to make sure that we're able to deliver on all of the travel demand out there that we're seeing. But, as you mentioned, it's definitely been a rough summer, and for everyone in the entire airline industry, us included. We've been impacted by people shortages, and we're seeing that across so many different industries, particularly service industries. And we're seeing that we're also impacted by weather. In June, we had something like 27 days of weather out of 30 days. So, you can imagine that's ramp closures, that's ground stops, and it really does have a ripple effect throughout our operation. And unfortunately, that disrupts passengers' travel journeys, which is, not what we want. We want everyone to have that smooth, seamless journey, enjoy the trip, and of course, getting to their destination or getting home. You may have read about issues in key airports. Like I know London Heathrow is one of our main international airports that we fly into. And they've started limiting number of passengers, departing passengers actually. So capacity of 100,000. And I think the numbers are like they would fly over 200,000. So less than double, or less than double people per day. So it's really impacted us as well. But as we look ahead, we really make sure that we're right-sizing our operations. So as we look to the rest of the summer, the rest of the year, we've taken proactive steps. So what we want to do is make sure that we have some more buffer in our schedules. So when these things happen, when things that are out of our control, like weather and airport issues, we've really tried to give us that buffer and limit our capacity to the resources we have and what we know we can supply, and really face those operating conditions that unfortunately just continue to plague us overall. But we're confident that we can run a reliable operation, and we're already seeing improvements in July as we close that out compared to June and the beginning of the summer.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's all about learning from, our past experiences. Don't we want to call them mistakes, because we've never really been in a situation like this before, and of our time. So we're all learning, right? Issues that you were experiencing a year and a half ago, you had to pivot and address that. I recall you talking about, American during that brand innovators chat, pivoted more towards cargo, right? You had to kind of upend your entire media strategy that you took months and months to plan for as a result. And now you're, kind of pivoting and learning again from this summer travel. I think the key is to what you're saying is you kind of control what you can. A lot of the times the weather is out of our control, but it's all about learning and moving on. As my dad says, may the best days of your past be the worst days of your future. So you learn from it and you make the best of it.
It's definitely a dynamic environment. And so I think you just have to prepare for a dynamic environment. Even more so, I think travel has always been very dynamic, the category itself. But if you think of where we've been over the past 2 years and where we are going and just what we're experiencing right now, the business objectives, we have those core objectives, but the environment changes. And so from a marketing perspective and from an operational perspective, we have to change with it and prepare as much as we possibly can and kind of prepare for the unexpected and know that flexibility is a virtue.
Indeed it is. Let's talk about the future. When we were doing some prep, you had mentioned a couple times that the future is bright. And I love the optimism, the positivity there. I agree. Elaborate on that. Tell us where and how American is seeing a bright future.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely think the future is really bright. I think, if you think about it, I mean, some people have asked, we're seeing this massive travel demand right now, but is that really going to continue? Are we going to continue to see that? Or, is it really this idea of revenge travel? And I think that the pandemic has really taught us all the value of experiences and the importance of being there in person, connecting with your family and friends, visiting new places, see the natural beauty, the different cuisines, whatever it is, or even if you're conducting business in person. And demand may have surged initially because of that revenge travel idea, but I think the importance of connection and the inherent transformative nature of travel is going to ensure that travel demand is going to continue. I think we've had that insight for a long time that millennials value experiences more than they value things. And I think it's just a matter of the fact that the rest of the world or the rest of us in different age groups have caught up to that way of thinking. And I think that travel is one of those top experiences that people really value that they can't replace. And so we're bright about that. And you're seeing our investments are reflecting that. If you look at our network, we've definitely expanded domestic because obviously over the past several years, that's where the majority of travel has been. But we are anticipating, what's happening in the future and where we're going. We've just, we've expanded to international destinations that we've never traveled to, places like Doha, Qatar. We're going international destinations going into India. So I think we see some of these strategic future opportunities to expand. And we are really bullish on that because we are bullish on the future of travel. And then it is something that it's going to continue. It's not just a blip post-COVID.
All right, let's shift gears more specifically to the passenger experience. On the heels of talking about the future of travel, it seems like a lot of it is around innovation, digitization. You heard it from IHG, Delta. How is American Airlines improving or enhancing including innovation for their travelers?
Yeah, we're leveraging innovation in a lot of ways. I mean, I think like most travel providers and airlines, we are always looking for ways to create a more convenient and stress-free travel journey. I think anyone who flies can appreciate that. There is some inherent stress for people. And we're using digital innovation to empower customers, because we've definitely found, through customer insights, et cetera, is that our passengers, they want to have more control over travel. Sometimes you do feel like, gosh, out of control, and anything that they can manage for themselves, they're happy, more content, feel like they can help manage the experience. And most importantly, we want people to move through the airport faster. And one of the ways we do this is really encouraging people to use the American Airlines mobile app. A lot of the people who are very, loyal customers, absolutely. I think anyone who flies on American regularly knows that it has so many valuable elements, and it really can help make your travel easier. But we want to make sure that everyone knows that, gosh, you can almost do anything from your smart device. You can check in for your flight. You can download your mobile boarding pass, live chat with a reservations agent. We've also given customers the ability they can check in online. And then they can just express scan their boarding pass at a kiosk. They don't have to go through multiple levels on the check-in screen. They don't have to stand in a long check-in line. They literally can just scan their boarding pass because they've already done everything that they need to do before they get there. Because we want people to be able to get through the airport as fast as possible, as quickly as possible, and really get to be able to relax for their flight and look forward to where they're going. So I think that digital component is really critical, and it's important. That's how people are managing their lives. You can do almost everything on your smartphone, and in the same is true in travel. And then another stressful part of the journey is getting through TSA. And now we're leveraging biometrics. You can just use your phone and really your face. We have partnered with TSA PreCheck. And when you have, with TSA, and then when you have PreCheck, and if you have, your phone and an advantage number, you can create a mobile ID. You'll go through a separate line at security where you just have to show a QR code on your phone and look into the camera. So we have this in DFW right now, and we're going to be expanding to Miami, Phoenix, DC, and beyond later this year. But it's really a faster identity verification process. So we're seeing a lot of benefits from that. Anything that we can make the travel experience more seamless, whether for ourselves or when you're flying with one of our One World Alliance partners.
Got it. I mean, everything is at the palm of your hand, right? With your phone. Quick little numbers and stats here from eMarketer. Digital travel bookers in this year, 2022, is 120 million, representing just about half of the internet population. And by 26, it's going to grow up to 131 million. So 11 million more folks in the next couple of years are going to be booking travel online. I know that number continues to go up. It's gone up from years past. Now, my mom back in the day would only call the travel agent, and she didn't want to get online or anything. But there's such more of a comfort level to book online and book through the app. Are you seeing a lot of that as well with American? Because a lot of the bookings, not just so much the experience after you've booked the tickets, but are bookings happening a lot through the mobile app?
Yeah, I mean, we have seen, a continued shift, as you mentioned, and this is not a new trend, but shifting to doing your own personal booking, booking on AA.com, booking on the app. Absolutely. You have access to different benefits, more information. It's all right there for you. And so that's definitely something we continue to encourage, just because it makes it for a more seamless experience. And without having that middleman, if you're looking through it, we're just seeing that customers really like going direct, just like they do in so many different aspects of their life for other things.
Sure. Let's on the heels of the app, we talked a lot about last week the loyalty program. You already touched on it a little bit. American Airlines Advantage program. How has that changed over the last couple of years?
Yeah, well, we talked about innovation earlier and we were focused on digital innovation. But I'd say as a company, one of the biggest areas of innovation for us has been with our Advantage program. So we made a significant change to the program at the end of the year that has really gone into effect in March of this year. And that's the fact that now you don't just earn loyalty status through flying, but you can also earn it through spend on your American Airlines Advantage credit card. So in the past, you'd always gain Advantage miles through your spend on the credit card, but now you can actually gain loyalty points and loyalty status. So what we're seeing is a significant increase in the number of loyalty members and status members because they are flying. They're not just flying, they are spending. And we really want to make sure that we are valuing all interactions that our customers have with the American Airlines ecosystem. So whether that is flying, whether that's spending on your credit card, or whether that is leveraging one of our Advantage partners, we want to make sure that that is valued for our customers and that they see the inherent value. We're finding that there are people, especially in the pandemic, they may not be traveling as much for business. They may not be flying as much to be able to get the status just from flights that they have in the past. But when they spend on a credit card, we're seeing a number of people where they may not fly that many times per year, but they really value that loyalty to American and what the benefits that they can gain from it just by spending on their credit card. They are gaining the status and they are gaining the Advantage miles to fly their family on vacation, when they take that summer vacation. So we're really trying to make sure that we're driving all aspects of loyalty. And one of the most interesting things is, and I know you've heard about this in blogs and gosh, even in TV and movies about the mileage run. Because in the past, you would have people, it's getting to the end of the year, I either want to maintain my status or I want to get to the next level. I'm going to go on this flight. It was less about where they're going or that they needed to go anyplace. It was just so they can get either the spend, the miles, the segments, so that they can maintain their status.
Right.
Really at the end of the mileage run. It could just be about, spending for your gift buying over the holidays or whatever it is, your monthly bills. Those all add to this experience that you can have and gain loyalty status as well as miles. So we're really excited about that. And it's one of those things that I think it's really transforming how people are thinking about not just flying, but spending with American.
Great. Thank you for sharing all that. And I agree. Not everyone's an Advantage member. Some are, some not. Some travel once a year. Some travel, 5, 6, 7 times a year, internationally, domestic. There's no one type of traveler. So how is American addressing each traveler's needs or requirements?
Yeah, I think just in general, we offer a terrific experience for everyone based on the cost, the pricing that they're looking for, as well as the different benefits they're looking for. So we offer multiple cabin classes. We offer different types of seats. We offer additional benefits the customer can add on during their flight booking. But really, we're making sure that there is a cost value option for every customer. And we think there's a lot of value to be derived, whatever that cost value benefit is for each individual person. And we want to make sure that despite whatever class of cabin you're flying in, whatever price your flight is, we want everyone to be an Advantage member because there are benefits to that, and that is free to sign up. So we really want to encourage everyone, even if you're just flying once a year, you can still be an Advantage member and gain those benefits from it. And then I'd say more from maybe a brand and a customer experience standpoint, we want to make sure that everyone who is thinking about flying on American knows that this is an airline for them, that they can really feel like that we are catering to their needs, are thinking of them We're really committed to diversity and DEI in every element. So it's definitely about making sure that our team members reflect our customer base and who's flying, but it's also about thinking through, we work with a diverse group of suppliers that bring value to our company. They offer unique skills, ideas, etc., perspectives. So whether that is, we offer a new dessert, it's a bundt cake. It's called Silver Spoon's Dessert, and it comes from a diverse entrepreneur that we found, and we've actually helped her build up her business so she could get enough, she could actually supply us. And it's turned out it's one of our customers' favorite desserts. Also, when you think of it from in-flight entertainment, we offer a wide variety of entertainment, but we also have diversity in our entertainment. We have movies that are specifically featured from the American Black Film Festival. So those are just a few, examples. But whether it is from the operations and the type of seat, or whether it's what you can do while you're flying with this and what are the different aspects that you can enjoy, we want to make sure that that is reflected for everyone, not just in the US, but also globally on our global flights.
All right. Well, I haven't had lunch yet, so you talking about that dessert is not helping my my appetite. I'm going to need some silver spoon desserts.
Try it
out. Let's talk about partnerships. You announced a partnership last month, maybe a month and a half ago, with Discovery Plus. That has Warner Brothers content on the in-flight entertainment. What was the impetus of that? Can you talk a little bit more about that partnership?
Sure. For our in-flight entertainment, we really think of it in terms of, we want to make sure that time that the customers spend with American Airlines is time well spent, particularly when they're in flight. So we really have placed a lot of focus and investment into our in-flight offerings. So we definitely have great movies, for sure. I think you'll find an awesome selection, but we've also launched different types of entertainment. We found out from our customers what are their different interests and passions, and we try and make sure that that is reflected in our entertainment as well. So we recently launched a new lifestyle channel that features Rosetta Stone. So when you're traveling, particularly if you're going to a different country, you can learn some phrases from a new language. We also have Skillshare, and that is little short presentations by different experts in their field. So you can spend that time on your plane learning how to do budget interior home design. They've got a ton of different topics that are a lot of fun. And then, of course, different interesting and educational content from Discovery Plus. So something we've been investing with for a long time. We were the first, and I believe still the only carrier to offer Apple Music streaming for free. So if you're the type of person who just like to put on your headphones and kind of zone out and you want some different music, here you go. We have Apple TV Plus, so we're offering different TV shows. I know I've particularly enjoyed watching the morning show when I've been flying. We also have the Apple Music video channel. So there's just a lot of different aspects that we think about it, but it is that idea of time well spent. So whether you're leveraging best-in-class Wi-Fi, or you want another one that's kind of a cool one that I know a lot of people have enjoyed is something unique, is in-flight access to Austin City Limits. So they have all these cool musicians and indie musicians and different things that I know a lot of us unfortunately don't get the chance to go to Austin all that often. So you get in-flight access and you can watch concerts from Billie Eilish, Dave Matthews Band. So it's definitely something that we want to feel like people can have that quality entertainment, and really feel like they're not only excited to get to the destination or return home, but we want them to feel like they've enjoyed the flight in all aspects, whether it's customer service, whether it's reliability, but also from an entertainment perspective.
So talking about Austin, with Austin City Limits, you all had another partnership with the University of Texas. I believe it's your alma mater as well, and offering a rewards program there. What does the sponsorship mean for Longhorn fans or maybe other colleges?
Yeah, I mean, well, for all the Longhorn fans out there, hook 'em. You can now, go to DKR Memorial Stadium, and you will see our American Airlines Advantage patio. It's going to be the coolest place to watch football games when you're in Austin. But really, the thinking behind that and the strategy, nothing to do with the fact that I went to UT. But what it really is about Austin overall. It is such a growing market overall. I think if you see the news, even nationally, how many corporations are moving to the Austin area, as well as just population. So we're really looking at that as we think about our network and where we're expanding and what we're focusing on. And also the fact that for us, Austin is almost in our backyard.
Right.
It's 3.5 hours away or so driving from the DFW area. So it's been a big strategic focus for us. We've invested significantly in Austin. So in the past year, we've added 35 new routes from Austin. And also we know that we want to make sure that we're giving the right level of service to our customers. So we've always had a Admirals Club in Austin, but we've actually broken ground on a new 15,000 feet square Admirals Club. So it's going to be the largest airport lounge in Austin. So having the UT Athletics sponsorship and partnering with Texas X's, which is the alumni group, it's really just, I like to think of it as the trifecta, in helping us to drive share and really to drive brand preference for American in Austin. So, now you've got the flights, you can go there on American, you can enjoy the Admirals Club in the lounge, and you can root for your team knowing that American Airlines is a key supporter of University of Texas overall.
Great. I love it. All right, how are we doing on time here? 1:40. Let's talk a little bit about for some of the brand marketers on the phone and looking to get an understanding of your media strategy and the dynamics behind that. In that chat with your friends at MediaCom with Brand Innovators last February, you had spoke about some of the tactics at the time were more lower funnel, the butts and seats. And now, fast forward a year and a half later, how has that shifted? What's the focus now? What's the plans going into back half of the year as you think about 23, not having a crystal ball, but hopefully a lot of the pandemic woes are behind us despite some variants. But as far as the media strategy, the marketing support around it, tell the folks tuning in what American's doing in that realm.
Yeah, sure. I mean, as we said earlier, things have definitely changed a lot, and that definitely impacts our media strategy overall. And I'll say that we really focus a lot on being as effective and efficient with our media as possible. I think any marketer would say that on a good day, but particularly, when our budgets, they're still not huge. We're still we're really, really focused on the bottom line and profitability. As you can imagine, we haven't had profit for 2 years, save for this last quarter. So we do really try and be effective and efficient. But we have been employing a full funnel media strategy this year. If the pandemic, it was very low focused and really trying to capture any demand that was out there. At this point, we still want to make sure that we're driving conversion in the lower funnel, but we're also investing in the mid funnel to drive consideration. In addition, we're doing upper funnel, so awareness, prospecting, etc. So, for example, we just launched in July an Advantage advertising campaign. So we're communicating just what I talked about, some of the new innovation that we have in our Advantage program. And one of the key messages, is you can earn status through your credit card spend, and that travel is better as an Advantage member. So that is really more of that upper funnel campaign that we want to gain awareness for. We want people to be thinking about it. So I would say it's very much a full funnel strategy right now, and I anticipate that is going to continue. I think depending whether you look at from a seasonal perspective, when is travel demand high, when is it low, when are we trying to drive it, what are the new innovations that we are highlighting, etc. But I fully anticipate that we're going to continue focusing on full funnel strategy with that mix of upper and mid funnel tactics. And, we saw over the summer, we pulled back on our lower funnel because flights were full. We didn't need to capture that demand in the way we have during other parts of the year. So we shifted budget to different areas. But I imagine, as we go into more shoulder season, that'll change. So, we really try and think of it in those terms and what's needed and what we're seeing in the environment.
Yeah, I think overall, I mean, it's just positive to see that travel spend is back. American is contributing to that, and promoting the Advantage program or just the brand in and of itself. And we've seen, was it travel spend again, eMarketer sourced here from May of this year. Digital travel was in 2020 down 50% to 2.9 billion, 21 up to 4.2. This year up to 5.3. Fast forward a couple of years, 24 is going to be 7.4 billion, which is exceeding 2019 levels. So it's good that travel's back, the spend is back, going up and to the right, and it's fantastic that again that American is getting their name out there and pushing the brand.
Absolutely.
How about on the output? On the other side of it, the measurement. How is American measuring these campaigns or particular KPIs with the Advantage campaign that you have now? Like what are ways that you measure the output?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it is very standard metrics that you would imagine, whether it's impression, engagement, cost per booking, ROAS, click-through rate. And of course that shifts depending what the specific objectives are of that campaign. But one of the measurements that we look at that I think is a little bit more unique is cost per landing page view, because we have that a lot of our media, it actually drives to dynamic fare landing pages. We've got so many different pages that you can go to, and whether that is the specific routes or destinations that you're looking for. I'm looking for a beach location. Whatever the case is, we have different pages that are curated based on your search criteria.
Right.
Also, it's just a place to send different people depending what that message is. If we have a new network message, a new flight, new route, that we can send to saying, here are all of the places that you can get to XYZ new location. So, we look at that across the board. And, from an ROI standpoint, we have a media mix model that really helps us try and assess the true ROI as we think of that across the board. Since, as I said, we've got to be really efficient, and we want to make sure that we are driving that true ROI.
Yep. Yeah, I think the landing page is key. We're seeing that at Samsung Ads quite a bit with the travel brands that are working with us, from hospitality to OTAs to the theme parks, the destinations. Both the Arrival Lift that we do our partnership with Arrival List, but also just having the ability to pixel a brand site, providing that meaningful measurement, impact that a CTV campaign has in driving to a particular landing page. There's still ways that you want to track your digital investments, and seeing the activity inbound from your media and what's going on the page, I think is critical.
Yeah, it's great to be able to. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to add, it's great to be able to not only provide customers with more specific information and flight options, but it's also a different way to inspire travel. Because there are a lot of pages that are less just specific here to there, but I'm looking for a weekend city break,
right.
And we have pages curated for that. So a lot of different options depending on what customers are looking for.
Can you talk more about the MES, or the media engagement score, that I believe you're working with Mediacom on, as far as kind of like future of measurement, what that would look like?
Yeah, I mean, we're always doing different tests, in the media environment, and what's going to work best for us. What do we see our customers really engaging with? But we're seeing that we're working across so many different digital channels and different areas. And sometimes you feel like it's a little bit of comparing apples to apples. Apples to oranges, not apples to apples. And so How can we really better have a cross-channel analysis when we're making these investments? And so one of the things that MediaCom has been helping us with is a media engagement score. So how can we look at different performance indicators, weight those, and kind of harmonize that across digital units, allowing for a single form of comparison. So, we'll see how that goes. It's something that we're working on, and I imagine we'll probably adjust over time, but just trying to look at it from different perspectives so that we can be as effective as possible and use the media dollars in a way that's really going to best engage with our customers.
Great. All right, we've got a couple minutes left, I think, before we want to open it up. And thought we'd end it with, with around the theme that the future of travel, around the future of media. What trends are you seeing in travel, and how will that inform or enhance your media strategy moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard throughout that I think, leisure travel has been a big focus for us. Of course, business travel is always going to be there, but this trend of, what people are referring to as bleisure, where you're combining that business and leisure travel together, I think it's only going to continue. You're seeing continued hybrid workplaces. And so just more and more, those are blended. You can't always just count on the fact that, oh, it's a multi-passenger booking for 4 people. It's a family trip. Not necessarily. It can often be, where you have a business trip, you're taking your family, extending the vacation, or you are doing kind of a work from home in a different destination. I think that's going to continue. And I think we'll continue to morph with that, as far as, are there different offerings when you have that mix of business and leisure that we need to offer to our customers. So I think more to come on that one, but it is interesting. And I think, as everyone from a media perspective talks about and this environment and where we're headed in that area, leveraging our first party data becomes even more critical. So that's something we work through while at the same time balancing privacy. So what are those different areas where we can best reach our customers in the way that is relevant for them?
Great. All right, I think that's about it. I mean, you can end it with a fun question, taking a page out of the prior session's book. How about yourself? Any trips coming up, or anything that you're looking forward to in the next couple months?
Oh, absolutely. I always have a few trips, in the offing. I think I'm definitely a passionate traveler way before I even arrived at American. Was a loyal American member. I have a million miler status before I arrived at American. So always have some trips planned. I'm headed to Chicago for a weekend, headed to New York for a weekend with some girlfriends to do a Broadway weekend, as well as some international travel. Probably the next biggest trip is to India over Thanksgiving. So I'm going to go check out the Taj Mahal. So looking forward to that.
Wonderful. That'll be great. Well, I've got family down in Dallas, and I now another excuse to get down there. He's been bugging me to come visit him, so I'll be sure to get down there, and would love to sync up with you in person outside of this virtual world.
Absolutely. We'd love for you to travel with us and love to meet you in person.
Of course. So I think I can open this up. I don't know if the questions come in.
We did have one come in, and it's a good one. It's a 2-parter. It's, how do you effectively market to the masses when some people are more comfortable traveling than others? And how do you make that messaging inclusive for both the regular travelers who are ready to go and the ones that are a little more leery still in this new world?
Yeah, I think we've definitely learned that each customer is unique, and as far as what are their needs. So whether they are, and we want to make sure that we're offering a travel experience in which they feel comfortable, they feel calm, they're happy, all of those good things. And so, for those who have more health concerns or maybe COVID concerns, so many of those practices that we were doing during COVID are still relevant. I mean, even today, our pilots will make the message, you no longer have to wear a mask in flight, but please be respectful of those who choose to do so. And so we want to make sure that people feel like that is a travel experience is tailored for them. Yes, it is broader. It's not something that every single trip is personalized, but there are so many different elements, so whether that is you require a certain type of meal and we can accommodate in that way, the different entertainment based on whether you need it in a different language, or you require a different boarding because of things you're carrying on, etc. There's so many different ways that we can tailor the experience, but for those that still have, I don't know, I want to say COVID concerns, but health concerns overall, the great news is that all of those things we did, when you talk about HEPA filters and different things that really ensure that you are going to have a good flight on American, we've continued and we continue to reinforce.
Awesome, thank you. And that looks like that might be our last question. So I don't know if Ray, you have any more in your quiver there.
I'm good. I think we addressed everything that we wanted to cover off on.
Well, thank you both so much for joining us today. These chats are so great. Getting all the great travel tips in the background while you're talking. So thank you.
We didn't ask you where are you headed next?
Where's
where's your dream destination that you would love to go?
Heading to Atlanta. Dream destination is like bum around Europe for a year, but that one might get a little frowned upon by the powers that be and the people that I have to pay bills to every month. Details.
Maybe just a short trip.
Just a short trip. Yeah, just a weekend bum. But I do have a friend getting married in Rio next summer. So that's or Rio de Janeiro, sorry. That's my next big trip. So.
Well, Rio's fabulous. So I'm sure you will enjoy. It'll be a very special wedding. But yeah, that's one of our prime destinations that we go into South America that we find that our customers particularly enjoy. So I'm sure.
And we just got one more come in for you, Dana, actually.
Oh, okay, great.
Okay.
We're seeing conversations around solo travel popping on the platform. Are you seeing that as another trend at American?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's something that we are not just whether someone's traveling solo, whether they're traveling with a group, etc. We're always prepared to handle that and really encourage that over the board. I don't think we have any major any sort of policies that are just around traveling as a couple or traveling as a group or as a family. I think we probably have predominantly more passengers traveling on their own these days. So solo is travel, something that we highly encourage, and hopefully solo travelers feel that America is for them and can take them to all the destinations that they want to either go visit friends, see their family, or just going on that solo trip. I think, for those of us who are in the travel industry who are always reading different travel blogs in different areas, there's so many groups that are dedicated to solo travel, and whatever your interest is, solo women travelers, solo older travelers, solo travelers with different interests that they want to focus on. So whether you're truly taking that solo trip or you're looking for a group of other solo travelers to go with, tons of opportunities. And what I would say is, having been a solo traveler myself for many years, I would say don't let that hold you back. Don't feel like you've got to have a traveling companion to go someplace fabulous and have a great time and learn a lot and gain some new experiences. Because at the end of the day, travel is transformative, and I think there's so many life benefits to traveling and getting out there. So encourage that as a travel professional, and also just as a passionate traveler myself.
Love it. We'll steal a line from Nike to put a stamp on the day. Travel, just do it. Just do it. Just go.
Book it.
And one more plug, I would say, and travel is better as an Advantage member. So sign up to be an Advantage member, and that travel experience on American is going to be even better.
Awesome. Thank you both so much for joining us today. This is a great chat.
Thank you. This was great.
All right, and then we'll bring up our last session for the day. We're going to stay in the air. We're going to bring in BJ Youngerman, the Managing Director, Market Strategy Development and Strategic Initiatives at United Airlines, and his moderator, Matt Kilmartin, the co-founder and CEO of Habu. Hi, guys.
Hey, Carrie, how are you?
Good. How about yourself?
I'm doing great, thanks.
All right, we'll give BJ just a second.
Sorry, I've got a video issue.
No worries. It always takes a little bit once you jump on and turn that camera on. It always likes to hold you in suspense. But while we're waiting for BJ's camera, Matt, we'll start with you. This has been the theme of the day. Where's your last trip? Where's your next trip?
Oh, wow. Last trip was South Carolina, and next trip is Spain.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That sounds lovely. And there's BJ. Perfect timing.
Hi. Sorry, I had the fancy camera going at the top of the monitor. It didn't seem to want to work. So we're going to the old-fashioned laptop one right here. So
awesome. Well, I will let you two have at it.
Cool. You got to answer the same question, BJ. Last trip and next trip.
Last trip, well, I'm on my current trip in New York, actually. And then upcoming trip, I am taking a break for a little bit. I'm trying to think of, I don't have anywhere kind of super exciting. I'll head up to San Francisco for a trip in a couple of weeks. So
cool. Very cool. Well, good deal. Well, why don't we start with introductions, and then we can jump into things. Just after introductions, we're actually going to play a little clip of a new sort of United campaign right now that BJ and I thought it'd be great to share with everyone. So my name is Matt Kilmartin. As Carrie said, I'm the co-founder and CEO of Habu. Habu is a data clean room software company. And primarily what we do is we help brands gain deeper insights about their customers, drive better measurement through privacy safe data collaboration. Some of you might be familiar with the data clean room word around the walled gardens, which is definitely something Habu does, but we also sort of help companies build sort of data partnerships without actually sharing data. And that's really what a data clean room is. So, a lot of use cases around marketing. So really just excited today to talk to BJ about United and what's going on in the travel industry, and lots of great stuff happening at United. And we're looking forward to today's conversation. So BJ, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself and your role at United?
definitely, that'd be great. We're going to get in the virtual background up here too. So I head up our market strategy team here at United. What my team does is really looks kind of at a very local level in each of the hubs that we serve. How can we be more effectively serving customers and winning their business as the carrier of choice for them? So we'll share a little bit more about that kind of as we get into the discussion. But I know we were going to roll the video. So I think Amanda's pulling it up, and I will pause there and we'll go ahead and dive back into it after that.
This is the story of an airline. It begins a century ago. Wait, let's find a better way in. This is the story of an airline, one that's a force for good. And it's got everything. Romance, suspense, setbacks, seatbacks. It's a sci-fi story about a piece of trash that fuels a plane to help protect the planet. It's a rescue story to save a connecting flight told over and over and over again. And a coming-of-age story about a little girl who dreamed she could fly, and then did. Trust me, you won't want to put this one down. In fact, you can't, because you're in it. Yes, you! Along with thousands of other hero characters on a mission to do good in the air and beyond, making the world a happier, friendlier, safer, greener, more inclusive, more fascinating place. The end. No, wait, that's not right. This story doesn't have an ending. But that's kind of the point of the story. We're never finished, because this is the story of an airline when good leads the way.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that, BJ. And I think the Good Leads the Way campaign and that video captures every emotion that people have when they're traveling. I thought it'd be awesome, maybe just to start out, and I know Good Leads the Way was a huge branding initiative for United, one of your biggest ones in the last sort of decade or so. I'd love to just, you've you touched on what your role is at United right now, but you've been there for almost a decade yourself, 9 years. So it'd be cool just maybe share a little perspective on the campaign and a little bit of your journey at United. That'd be great.
Sure, definitely. So I'll share a little bit personally just from my journey at United. I've worked across a variety of different groups, started in marketing and have kind of worked my way back to it, but spent some time in customer experience, human resources, employee engagement. And for me, being a part of United right now is really unique. And I think the embodiment of the brand campaign, we're at a turning point for the company in a very different place than we've been during the 10 years that I've been here. And part of the reason why we launched this campaign when we did is this is the embodiment of a lot of the proof points that we've been putting into market as we've taken actions over the course of the pandemic and coming out of it, and really trying to identify opportunities to do the right thing and to do good in the actions that we take. And so, at the start of COVID, that was things like running repatriation flights to get people back home, moving PPE out of other parts of the world in order to get it to places where it's needed most, and really kind of being a responsible, citizen to help respond to the needs of the world more broadly, not just necessarily our customers. And so, as we think about kind of how good leads the way came to be, that's really where kind of the impetus of it was we think about ourselves as the opportunity to be a force for good in a lot of different capacities. And this is our opportunity to now tell customers about it. And it's a very different way that we've kind of talked about our business. Typically, us or any other airline often talks about just the product and the experience. And those are important parts of why customers would choose to fly with us. But quite honestly, we felt like, especially at this moment, given a lot of what we've done during COVID and coming out of it, this is a way to talk a little bit differently about who we are and what we do for the world more largely.
That's awesome. Well, it's a great campaign for sure. How's it going so far? I know it launched in May.
It's been great. Yeah, we've gotten really tremendous positive responses. I will say what I think is particularly cool is having our employees highlighted in it. We get really incredible responses from them as well, right? Typically employees are not necessarily front and center for any brand's campaign. And for us, every employee who you saw in that video and in any of the other assets that we have, they're actual employees, and the uniform they're wearing, that's the actual job that they do. And so there's such a sense of pride, I think, for our employees across the globe to be able to see themselves reflected as a part of what we've put out to market.
Very cool. Very cool. Awesome. Well, listen, you touched on COVID, you touched on sort of the criticality of this time and whatnot. We're definitely going to come back to this, but one of the things that I thought was interesting, just as I learned a little bit about your role, is it's not just marketing, it's really all around growth, right? Mm-hmm. And looking at all different aspects of growth. So sort of taking it from the balcony of good leads the way and having sort of people feel good about United to sort of driving growth and increasing market share in hubs. Like, tell us a little bit about sort of how those dots are connected.
Yeah, it's a great question. I think internally we refer to our growth plan as United Next. And what United Next means is we are taking 100 airplanes starting next year, every year for the next 5 years. So it's 500 airplanes over the course of 5 years. These are brand new airplanes with state-of-the-art technology, overhead bins that can accommodate every single person's carry-on bags, best-in-class CPAC entertainment, Bluetooth-enabled technology, really the kind of best of the best. But what that 100 aircraft per year means is we are growing faster than any airline in the history of the world has ever grown. And so there's a lot of work that has to go into every element of that. And where my team sits in that, and as we work kind of in each of these local markets, we have to figure out ways to acquire customers who may not have any familiarity with the United brand. And we have to find ways to get them to, we use the phrase all the time, they got to try us in order to like us. Because for some customers, especially some of the younger generations and those who maybe aren't as familiar with travel, they may not know United. And there's also others who may know us, but they know us from 10 years ago or 15 years ago. And the experience that we are delivering on today from a customer experience perspective is very different from what it was previously. And so in order to acquire customers and really support that growth, we've got to find unique mechanisms in order to make sure we can get them onto our airplane to experience what that new United experience is like today.
Yeah, it's awesome. Well, as a traveler and as you're describing 100 new planes with unlimited overhead space and whatnot, it sounds dreamy. So that's great. So yeah, there's definitely a bunch of sort of tactics and things I'd love to drill into based on what you just talked about. Before we go there though, you mentioned sort of like now's a turning point for the company, right? And obviously, you know, the airline industry was hit pretty hard in COVID, and now you're sort of seeing a surge come out of it. But I'd love to, and you were obviously there through the entire pandemic, so it'd be great to talk a little bit about just maybe United's journey through the pandemic, and really what do you mean now when you're sort of talking about sort of a turning point for the company?
Sure. Yeah, definitely. I think, you know, if we think back to March of 2020, which in so many ways feels like a lifetime ago, for us, you know, we were watching kind of firsthand what was happening and a little bit in advance of other airlines because of our exposure to flying to Asia. You know, we have more flying to Asia than any of our competitors in the US do. And so we started to see some of the demand patterns on that. And, you know, as we hit those early days of COVID, it really forced this sort of how do we react quickly and how do we take steps in order to address the situation, despite the fact that we're facing, you know, at its worst point, we were down 97% from a revenue perspective, right? I mean, just very essentially no flying happening. And yet there was a need to innovate very quickly to say, all right, how do we establish the right cleanliness protocols and make sure that people understand there's HEPA air filters that are on our airplanes, being first to put a mask mandate in place. I mean, those are things that had to happen very quickly despite a lot of just unknowns and chaos. And I think that was where, you know, we decided, hey, we've got to figure out ways to step up and to do the right thing and to do it quickly. And that spirit of innovation and that spirit of being really responsive to the situation, and then also to what customers were telling us, that's something that's really carried through the pandemic, and it's something that's applying for us today. And I think you know, we had growth plans before COVID, you know, not quite to this extent, but what happened during COVID, everything was put on hold, and obviously it was just kind of went into survival mode to get through it. But coming out of it, you know, we've been saying from early on, there's going to be there was a lot of debate about, well, what kind of amount of travel is going to come back, especially in the business travel world, right? Is it going to recover to 50% of what it was? Some people said 75%. From the very beginning, Scott, our CEO, said it will come back to 100%, and it'll actually probably exceed that. And sure enough, that's what we're seeing. And so we've really been kind of building for this moment. And as all of you who are traveling now know, there's some challenges in the infrastructure that exists across the different parts of the travel experience. You know, we as an airline were more prepared for this from a staffing perspective and hiring and sort of getting ahead of it, but we're also reliant on a lot of other, you know, parts of the experience that you go through as you go through security and you go through customs and kind of all those other parts of the people who you interact with, and that's making the kind of growth a little bit of a challenge now. But our mentality, to kind of bring it full circle, is this is a set of challenges, and we're kind of equipped to figure out how to navigate them, but using that same kind of innovative spirit that we took, you know, from early on in the pandemic. Yeah,
it's amazing. I mean, we've all missed numbers, but a 97% drop is a pretty colossal drop, and that's it's amazing. The entire industry, it's just, you know, admirable, and it's awesome to sort of see it coming back. So when you reflect on it, and now sort of coming out of it, obviously you sort of talked about demand and sort of infrastructure, you know, some of the talks on as well, but like, are there any key innovations or any sort of key sort of opportunities that came out of it that for you, or which were, you know, obviously without divulging any so confidential information, but any sort of aha moments or any innovation that you can sort of tie back to those times?
Yeah, definitely. I'll give one example that I really love, and it's the agent on demand functionality that we have. For those of you who have not had a chance to use it while flying United, it was born out of the pandemic. And what originally drove it was, if you remember, kind of think back to the early days when people were traveling, there was a lot of hesitancy to have any sort of face-to-face interaction with another person, even with a mask on, right? And so our technology team said, hey, is there a way we can do this via what we're doing right here, right? have an agent who's on the screen, who can talk to me, who can interact with me, who can do all the things that an agent would be doing right in front of me at the airport. And they very quickly built the functionality into our digital channels in order to do that. And what's particularly cool about that is now in today's world where you have situations where perhaps you get caught in a thunderstorm in the middle of Denver and a lot of flights get diverted or canceled, something goes wrong. Instead of having to queue up to go talk to a customer service agent, as you previously would have had to do, you can just click right into your app, pop up, and you have an agent who will come and speak to you. And what's great for us is that agent can be anywhere, right? So the thunderstorms are happening in Denver, but we've got agents who are in Tampa or who are in DC, and they have the ability and the time to be able to help out. And so it's a win-win, right? It's a win for customers in that this technology enables them to not be tied to that old process of, hey, something went wrong, I got to queue up in order to figure out how to solve for it. And then it's a win for us from a staffing and employee perspective, right? Because it helps our employees kind of be more productive and make sure that we're using some of their time to serve customers. So that's one example. I could kind of give many different ones, but those are the types of things that when COVID happened, we put our heads together and said, all right, there's a problem here. How do we come up with a solution? And that type of innovation has now lived on beyond just what it was originally intended for.
Everyone can relate with the flight getting canceled and everyone running to the next place and getting in the queue. So the agent on demand sounds like an awesome thing for sure. How about as you think about, obviously you talked about growth as one of your big things. And I'm curious just around what changes you may have seen in terms of customer behavior and lifestyle and how does that really impact your strategy as you think about growth, whether it's acquisition and getting people to sort of do the try you before they can like you, or even just existing customer relationships. So are there any sort of key trends or changes or things you guys have seen?
Yeah, I think the emergence and continued kind of evolution of hybrid work and remote work is fascinating. And I personally have just done a lot of studying of this. My situation, I was living in San Francisco at the start of COVID, and I relocated to Denver. I can tell you there's a lot of people who live in Denver who relocated from other places as well. They may still work for companies that are based in wherever they moved from, right? And that I think is an interesting concept for an airline, because we are kind of enabling people now to you can live somewhere different than where your office is, and that was never even on the table for most people before. And so really kind of understanding, all right, well, what do those situations look like, right? Where are these people moving to? How often do they have this? What's the setup with their employer, right? Does their employer say, yeah, I'll expense this, or no, you're on your own? And how do we kind of respond to that, both from a network perspective, to obviously make sure we're kind of serving the right places and having the right frequencies and the right products in place, but then also working with our corporate customers, right? To say, how do we help you navigate this talent retention, situation that you're facing by employees having more options to work in hybrid and remote situations. But as a company, you've got to solve for still having that time to, have your employees together, that importance of in-person collaboration. I think we've all probably felt it, where doing this is a substitute to some degree, but it doesn't replace that feeling of being in the room with the team, being able to brainstorm at the whiteboard, having dinner as a team afterwards. And so I think that's just been, it's a fascinating space to watch, because we, in the pandemic, worked on a partnership with a company called Peerspace. Some of you may know, that does meeting space, has meeting spaces all over the US. It's like Airbnb, but for meeting spaces. And really what we designed was for a company to say, hey, instead of paying for office space, you can take some of that money and use it towards gathering your people from wherever they live across the country or the globe, and doing it on some sort of regular basis. And that was kind of a first iteration of what we saw at the time as an opportunity. I don't think any of us kind of expected that in a mostly post-COVID world here, right, where people are back out and doing things, that we would still have so many people who are in a hybrid or a fully remote kind of setup. And so really just kind of looking, that's one example I would say of customer behavior that's changed, but really giving us on what those trends look like, and then how can we be very responsive in the fact that we've got this connectivity to bring people across different places together, and how do we think about making sure we're being really nimble and adjusting, because this isn't something that has changed and is now locked in for forever. I think we're going to see another iteration of this in 6 months, a year, 18 months, and so on.
Yeah, no, Interesting. I mean, you hit on so many interesting topics there. I mean, we're talking about the future of travel, but really we just talked about the future of work a little bit too, and how that intersects with travel. And so that's super cool for sure. We were talking about, and that was a great example, just about sort of a virtual experience and then sort of in-person experience with that partnership. When you think about some of your customer engagement efforts with existing customers, whether it's existing experiences or new customer acquisition, how are you thinking about engaging with those people to really sort of drive growth? Like, I'd love to hear. I mean, I love the example you just gave around sort of, in some ways, almost hitting the employers up, because that's going to drive more travel. But I'm curious, as you're thinking about sort of customer acquisition or engaging with existing customers, just has that changed as well?
It has. Yeah, and I would say really, even before COVID, made significant investments in our digital capabilities. So those who are familiar with the United app, there is no better airline app, and that's in my humble, biased opinion. But the functionality and sort of the ability to connect with customers there and have that be a tool that's just a go-to for them in every element of their journey, both from the pre-planning and thinking about where am I going to go and how do I look at the ability to compare prices on a map and sort of think about situations where I might want to be inspired to go somewhere as opposed to having a particular trip in mind, all the way through to the actual functionality that exists as you're traveling, both when it's just things are going well and there's kind of standard travel, but then also during irregular operations. And I think there's probably been more in all of our lives adaptability to technology as a result of COVID. And that spans all ages, right? I think of my parents, I feel like, are more adept with technology than they were 3 years ago. And that's just a product of having kind of been forced into that, right? And so I think that's been an interesting opportunity for us because it was already something that we had invested a lot of resources in. And now it's just how do we kind of use that to connect with customers in different ways? And how do we just provide value to them outside of just the sort of typical things that you might think that an airline would provide? And so that's one of the things we're also giving some thought to as we think about partnerships and we think about just kind of how do we add value to the traveler experience and removing friction from that experience. And there's a lot of different things that are out there. I think there's things I won't go into here just as we're kind of thinking through them as a team. But I think there's huge opportunity there, right? This has kind of unlocked a whole new way of thinking about how you interact with customers and what they care about and what they want, and being able to kind of react to that and try different things. That's been really exciting, and I think we're in a unique time to be able to do even more of that.
Yeah, very cool. I definitely there are a couple sort of partnerships that you guys have been public about, which I would say feel to me like they go beyond sort of a normal sort of travel experience. So I definitely want to sort of double click on those.
Sure.
One thing which I'm sort of intrigued about, which was something I sort of picked up on our discussion today, was this whole try us before you like us, right? And you talked a little bit about sort of a younger generation, and obviously like, media consumption has changed as well. And so are there things on sort of the obviously the app's amazing and these things, but someone's got to try you before they can start using your app. So I'd love to hear, like, are there key strategies around sort of the try us piece before they can like you?
Yes, definitely. Well, I think some of that is helping to provide the right incentive to the right customer at the right time. Because if you think about what we have within our suite of options to get customers to come try us, there's your kind of standard, okay, offer a fair discount. And that applies to a certain population that's just very value conscious. There's others that want different elements of the experience that we have that others don't. So things like United Club access that not all airlines have, but that's very important to many people. So being able to offer that to some folks, being able to, and I'm borrowing someone's office here and they just popped in. I would say this is what happens when I'm not in the home office, right?
You need to pause for a second?
I'm good. Yeah.
Okay.
I think he just saw I was in here and closed the door. So,
okay.
But I think to finish that thought, right? Some people who care about price, some people who care about something like having United Club access, having a first class seat, having an economy plus extra legroom seat, right? Those are things that, depending on what you care about as a customer, we need to be thoughtful about what we offer to you, because that's going to incent you in order to try us, right? And so I think that's how we think about it. And I would say we're what we're learning is that there's, as you offer things to customers, it's not always the same in every situation, right? So if you think about, for each of you, sometimes when you travel for work and you're traveling by yourself, maybe you do care about having the club access and having, priority security and getting through very quickly. But if you're traveling with your kids and the family, and you want to make sure, all right, we've got seats together and we've got extra time to be able to board early, that might differ by situation. And so I think one of the things we talk about is we're really focused on acquiring the customer, as opposed to thinking about, all right, a business traveler and a leisure traveler, typically we kind of thought of them as like different things. The reality is it's the same person. They're just, in one situation, they're, traveling with by themselves, and in another situation, they're traveling with their family. And so how do we kind of present the right thing to the person in the moment and make sure that that is valuable to them, so that when they do try us, we're able to give them a great experience regardless of what their traveling situation is.
Yeah, for sure. Very cool. Two things. Actually, one, when we met the other day for the first time, you talked about this word revenge travel. I'd love for you to elaborate on that one a little bit. And then also the point you just made around fare might not necessarily sort of be the North Star. Like any perspective on maybe you can tell everyone what revenge travel is and just talk about the fare piece a little bit too.
Yeah, they kind of go hand in hand to some degree, right? So revenge travel, we refer to it as from people having been locked up for a couple of years, not being able to travel. There's this pent up demand, and I'm sure you all can kind of identify with this, right? Where people are like, I'm going to get on a plane and I've earned that trip to go and go somewhere exciting. And as it relates to the different products, we see an interesting trend in that people are much more willing to pay on their own for a premium experience, whether that's a first class seat, whether that's a United Club membership, whether it's a lie flat Polaris seat as they're going to Europe or to Asia. Those typically were products that were more often bought by the corporate traveler, right? It was something that the company policy says, hey, I can book this. And so that's what I do. And interestingly, what we see is the demand from a leisure perspective for premium products is far different than it was in 2019 and before. So I think that's an interesting trend. And I would say we equate some of that into revenge travel, right? The fact that people feel like, hey, I've been cooped up and I've earned this and I'm going to treat myself. But I also think there's just a paradigm shift in terms of how people view the travel experience. Airlines historically, if you go back many years, were just very commoditized, right? Seats are a seat, and I'm going to pay whatever I'm going to pay, and price is the same, and it doesn't matter if that seat's on us or on one of our competitors. And what we've really seen and what we've invested in, quite frankly, is those differentiators from a product perspective. So having a kind of an economy plus cabin that is sizable to make sure there's always availability for those who want to purchase it, having a premium economy experience, having that lie flat Polaris experience, having Polaris lounges, which are a step above what our United Club experiences are. Those are products that our customers are telling us they value in a way even more than they did before COVID.
Yeah, that's great. So so obviously to offer these experiences and offer this level of sort of personalized experiences, you have to have a great relationship with the consumer. And obviously privacy is a big sort of theme in the market right now. If you have a perspective on it, I'd love to hear it. If not, we can cover other stuff, but just as you think about sort of personalization and privacy, is there sort of a trade-off that you guys think about there, and any sort of best practices or ways you guys approach that?
Yeah, I think for us, so much of how we interact and personalize is the data that customers give to us via the Mileage Plus program, right? If you think about airline loyalty programs in general, part of the whole goal there is for you to share with us the things that matter to you, and we can personalize offers based off that. And we can also kind of see, where are the places that you're going to go, and how do we make sure we have kind of relevant offers for your travel patterns as those evolve. And so that's really how we've historically thought of it. I think the challenge we're facing is to go back to that growth, discussion that we had before. There's a lot of customers who aren't necessarily in the Mileage Plus ecosystems thus far, right? People who haven't yet tried us to like us. And so that's part of what we have to solve for, is how do we find ways to better understand those customers, figure out what it is that, is meaningful to them, and then personalize offers that we put in front of them. And so it's an ongoing challenge, I think, not just for airlines, but for companies more broadly that are trying to grow. how do you go and find those data points that are valuable and personalized and being mindful of kind of the privacy challenges that exist sometimes in order to achieve that.
Yeah, very cool. Well, one of the things you told me a little bit about the other day was just sort of younger generation, and talked a little bit about a partnership I think you guys have done with Away. Would love to hear like a little bit more about that, because I think it's I think it actually is the way you described it to me. It felt like a better experience, but it also felt like potentially a different demographic that you're sort of speaking to. So love to hear you sort of, maybe you could tell everyone a little bit about what exactly it is and talk about that'd be great. Because I know this is one of the things that's out in the public that you guys are doing.
Yeah, absolutely. So Away, for those who are not familiar with it, is a luxury luggage and travel brand. And it's very, very popular, particularly with Gen Z and millennials. And because they are, they're a brand that's so well known and loved by that demographic, which is core to our ability to bring those types of customers in order to enable our growth. What I talked about before, we just saw a great intersection with them to find a way to kind of infuse the Away experience in with our brand. And so what we've established with them, there's kind of a bunch of different components of it, but the most visible one to customers is the amenity kits that you get in premium cabins. And so they are designed as little Away suitcases, and that has your eye mask, your toothbrush, your hand lotion, and all the kind of amenities that come with that. But from a intersection with each other's customer bases, there's really great opportunity, because there's a certain amount of Away customers who are really loyal to the Away brand and have a lot of loyalty to them, who are not necessarily folks who have experienced United before. And so it's a great way for us to get in front of that audience, and vice versa. There's a whole slew of customers. Anybody who's on a United airplane, they're a traveler, right? So they're kind of a natural fit for Away, and getting that customer segment exposure to the Away brand is a win-win. So I think that's how we really think about partnerships like that, is, as we look at the types of customer segments that are out there that we're trying to reach, how do we find partners who help us reach those segments that maybe we don't quite have as good of a grip on as we'd like to. And I think the Away partnership has just been such a success from our ability to do that in a really meaningful and different way.
That's awesome. Very cool. Very cool. Would you characterize the stuff you guys are doing with Impossible Foods in a similar way, or is that totally different?
I think it's similar and it's different. I mean, Impossible is interesting because, and for those, most people I assume probably know Impossible, but the meatless meat is what it is, right? So for vegetarians and vegans, one of the things we keep a really close pulse on is just feedback from our customers on a variety of different things, right? And we have many mechanisms to get this. The main one is the post-flight survey, where customers can tell us, all the things that they loved and didn't love about their flight experience. And one of the things that we've seen is customer dining preferences have changed over the years, and there's a really strong desire to have plant-based options. And so as we took that feedback in, what we said is, all right, let's go and find someone who has a really high quality product that will kind of fit into our ecosystem, and that has some brand recognition associated with it, right? Impossible is a relatively well-known brand. And being able to then infuse them into the menus that we have on our cabins, it's a win-win in that it is something that's responsive to an issue that our customers have raised, right? We now have for customers who are vegan or plant-based in their diet, we have a great option for them. But then it's also, to kind of what I talked about with Away, Impossible opens up doors for us with people who may not necessarily be familiar with United, but they're very loyal to the Impossible brand, and having them see that we're connected in with them, that's obviously a win as well, in order to achieve that outcome of trying to get customers to try us and get exposed to us in order to like us.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's awesome. Yeah, it's interesting. I have always sort of thought about, obviously, travel, and there's natural sort of partnerships with other people sort of endemic to you in the travel industry, but these other ones are very, very cool. How do you sort of, and they sound like, they definitely are sort of a better experience, but also helping, expose the brand to new people, to new segments, if you will. So is that a strategic partnerships, like a big focus area for you? And is that, as you think about sort of different levers for growth, is that an important thing that's top of mind for you guys?
It is definitely. And I'll actually, I mean, I think there's the bigger partners, kind of like I talked about with Away and Impossible. I'll also give examples of, we're thinking about smaller partners as we grow in specific routes. So we've, recently kicked off a lot of new routes to very exciting places, and we're running trade missions and other opportunities to kind of get folks out there to experience it. And so being able to find those partners, we ran a recent trade mission from Denver to Munich as we launched that route with the World Trade Center and German American Chamber in Denver. Those are really kind of local partners that can help us, find the folks in the business community who are going to use that route and then take them on a trip. And we've recently announced a San Francisco, Brisbane, Australia flight. We're doing a lot of expansion in Australia in partnership with Virgin Australia and having planning a trade mission to do that very similarly in partnership with Bay Area Council in San Francisco. So that's part of how my team looks at the world, is how do we think about, as we're going to grow and we're going to look at the need to sort of find partners who can help us get in front of the people who are going to make a route work, being really kind of thoughtful about how we do that. And then really also just think about how you create visibility. Because one of the challenging parts with new routes is, like, those of us who work at United, we're really familiar with the fact that we're flying to the Canary Islands, and to Mallorca, and to the Azores and all these cool places. The average customer isn't necessarily, right? And finding ways to expose that to them, to then inspire them, especially on the leisure travel side of things, to go and try those out. Partners are really helpful for us in that, right? They have an ability to kind of reach, audiences and others and use channels that we don't have access to. So that's how I would say we think about it at a local level. And then to what I talked about kind of before with Away and Impossible customer segments more broadly, we really think about how do we reach those by those bigger partnerships.
Yeah. No, it's awesome. And I think that's one of the cool things about your role is you actually sort of get to see the things that's sort of the top of the thing, but then you got to, gain market share in the local markets and the hubs, which is great. So thinking about sort of the future of travel, which is the theme here, obviously there's sort of a year out, right? And so, I'd love, and I didn't share this question beforehand, so going slightly off script, but that's okay.
That's all right.
Maybe 3 big focus areas, sort of thinking out sort of 1 year, and then maybe as you think out, 5 years, right?
Yeah.
You talked about some of the growth you guys are doing around adding a lot of capacity and changing the experience and whatnot, but as you think about consumer engagement and growth sort of out 5 years and how things are changing, I'd love to hear your perspective on that too. So two-part question. One, sort of big 3, 1 year out, big focus areas. And then as you think sort of 5 years out.
Yeah, I think the near term, and this is near term and it'll extend to the longer term, but it's investment in the customer, really kind of finding those things that matter as we're trying to improve NPS scores, generate loyalty, and then supporting our growth, kind of all the things that happen with taking 100 airplanes in a year. We got to be laser focused on that, and managing costs in the process, right? I think that's the other challenging part is every company is facing right now with inflation and supply chain challenges and all those different things. As you do that, how do you kind of navigate that? And those are 3 near term, like we're laser focused on those. How do we do those and really deliver in a meaningful, great way for customers? And that's going to continue. I would say, bigger picture as we think 5 years out. My personal opinion is I think there is so much evolving technology that's out there that we have not even seen yet, right? And some of this, we're involved in. We have a United Ventures team that works to help us achieve our sustainability goals. And so they're looking with partners like Boom, who does supersonic travel, right? And they're looking at supersonic travel that will be fueled with sustainable aviation fuel. So that's aviation fuel that's made from household trash. And investing and spending time with those types of companies to say, and that's, Boom is one end of the spectrum. The other is, electric aircraft, smaller eVTOL planes, these things that are kind of shorter distance. I think there's so much that's there. And I think when people talk about electric airplanes and some of this stuff, it seems very futuristic. It seems like the Jetsons, right? Like, that's 20 years out. I think a lot of this can be achievable in the next 5 years. And as we bring our experts from the airline world to partner with some of those technology experts who are out there, I'm just really excited about what we're going to see there, because I think that we're maybe collectively underselling what might be possible.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool. I saw a presentation last week on the metaverse and Web 3.0 and all these technologies, which I learned a lot about. I actually think could be super interesting for travel, just all
Yeah.
these virtual experiences and how do you make people aware of the Azores and Canary Islands? It seems like it's a heck of a lot better than some of the ways we're showing ads to people today. So
Totally agree.
it could be very cool. Very cool.
I think there's so much there on the travel front that is, when we think about inspiring travel, that's so much of what we're in the business of. What better way to inspire it than to have a virtual version of it and say, hey, this is, you actually can head there and here's your nonstop flight in order to get there in 8 hours. So.
And look, your overhead fits no problem.
Exactly.
That's awesome. Well, listen, I've loved our conversation today. I know we have about 2 minutes. So if there's I haven't seen any questions come in, but if there's questions, people feel free to put them in the chat window. Maybe, as we close out, any advice that you have for companies in the space or companies sort of trying to work with people in your industry as well, just any sort of thoughts that are sort of top of mind for you or any perspective you thought would be useful to share with everyone before we wrap?
Yeah. I think for overarching is as we think about really changing the customer experience associated with travel and doing things that are outside the box, I think very open to those concepts that are out there, especially that can be done in a cost efficient way, right? I think often I'll hear for partners and it's like, okay, here's this and this is the millions of dollars it costs in order to do it. And given where the industry is, quite honestly, that's just not, it's not possible, right? We don't have the cash to sort of do that, but there's so much that's out there that is sort of smaller scale, can test it, can prove the value. And we're really open to learning about that, right? And I think that's for partners who are in the space, kind of learning what's there. How do you see it as something that really enhances the experience, and then also is just a competitive differentiator, right? I think that's something as well. The industry, as we're all growing, right? I talked about our growth plan, but I know Dana was on for American before, and there's some other, everybody's growing, right? And so I think being able to support that growth and do it in a really thoughtful way with things that differentiate us, I would say that's something I'm focused on. I can tell you it's something that I'm sure my peers at all the other airlines are focused on as well.
Awesome. Well, we are right on time. How's
Success.
that, Carrie?
On the money. You know what? You got the airlines bringing it home. You got to bring it home on time. I think this is a lot, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, Matt, thanks so much for having me. I really enjoyed our conversation, and this was great. So appreciate that.
Yeah, and I appreciate you sharing all the perspective and detail, and congrats on all you guys' success with the new campaign and everything. It's I really enjoyed hearing a lot more about United today and hearing your perspective. So it was great. Carrie, anything else before we wrap, or back to you?
Got it. We asked my favorite question. It started with the first session and it just bubbled. Everybody had to answer where they were going next. It was great. I think we need to do that for all of the events.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Cool. Well, thank you, everyone. Thanks,
All
Carrie.
right.
Thanks,
Thanks
BJ.
so much.
See you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
We're playing mute tag, Amanda and I. Sorry about that. Thanks to everyone for joining us today. I just want to thank everyone who spoke today, our speakers, our sponsors, and of course our audience. And don't forget to head over to Brand Innovators to our website, see what we have live events coming up in person that you can travel to and virtually, and of course, submit a nomination for our Women in Marketing Awards. Have a great day, everyone.